wine on these motherfuckers. Straight flames putting fire on these motherfuckers. Turning up the heat in the mosh pits. Watch the crowd go crazy when I drop this. Left side go crazy when the drop hits. Right side go crazy when the drop hits. In the back they go crazy when the drop hits. Everybody go crazy when I drop this.
Good evening, fight fans, and welcome to the beautiful Lowell Memorial Auditorium in Lowell, Massachusetts. Welcome to Swerve Combat, and welcome to CES Boxing's Mill City Mayhem Part 2. Joining me tonight in the broadcast booth, Mariano Agmi, the CES MMA publicist and CES Boxing publicist. Now, as the fight fans know, those of us who've watched us in the past know that for years, Sucre Ray Oliveira usually is sitting here ringside with me, but Sucre Ray tonight, home recovering from neck surgery. We know Ray is doing well. We want to wish him the best and for a speedy recovery. But in the meantime, Mariano stepping in out of the bullpen tonight. Good to have you here with us.
Thank you. I'm very happy to join you, Mike.
This is going to be a great card tonight, folks. We've got 6 exciting fights, and one of the biggest things with CES Boxing is the rise of the new talent, Mariano. Through the years, CES has had a staple of veterans in New England, but those veterans, like many, have aged out. They've retired. They've moved on to other ventures. And now, over the past couple of years, CES has signed some exciting, great new talent, all of whom are going to be on display tonight, including some other new faces. And one of the fighters I want to get to is one of the fast-rising welterweight prospects in New England, Jadel Pazmino from New Hampshire. He is going to be on this card tonight, taking on Giovanni Gutierrez, who we just saw in Lowell in June. Now, Mariano, you've had a chance to talk with Jadel about his rise. What really stands out the most about this young prospect to you?
Well, you know, Michael, he's very tall. He's rangy. He has a lot of power. 7 knockouts in 7 fights so far. And, you know, he's got a boxing pedigree. Both of his grandfathers were amateur fighters. They actually fought here in Lowell. They won some national titles there. And, you know, he's Puerto Rican heritage, right? So Puerto Rico has a very rich tradition in boxing. And Jadel has very big shoes to fill because his nickname is the new Tasmanian Devil, right?
That's a tough name to have. If you're going to be the next Vinny Paz and carry that name, you better deliver. And so far he has, as Mariano mentioned, 7 wins, all by knockout, all in the first round. We'll see if he actually gets into the uncharted territory of a second or third round tonight. Also on this card, a name that you've grown familiar with through the years from watching here on Swerve Combat, King Kevin Walsh, who right now is the reigning WBC, US NBC super featherweight and featherweight champion. Tonight, he takes on Angel Luna in a non-title fight. Kevin Walsh continues to surprise me each time and surpass expectations from a fighter who got a late start in his career to now being 17-0 and possibly, Mariano, on the doorstep of something big this year.
Well, you know, Kevin Walsh has an incredible story from going to jail early on in his career, right, to coming out now, collecting a slew of titles and vanquishing all of his New England rivals in the mix, right?
Yeah.
Irvin Gonzalez, Edwin De Los Santos, and Tremaine Williams. You know, there's nothing left in New England. I think next step for him over the next year is a world title shot.
It's global now for Kevin Walsh, who, like Mariano said, has eliminated almost all the competition in New England and now possibly on to bigger, better things by the end of this year. And how about our main event tonight? For the first time headlining is Mike Fontanez from Nashua, New Hampshire. Mike comes in at 12-0, 8 wins by knockout. Mike was introduced to CES through CES's involvement in Team Combat League Boxing. Team CES was the general manager of the Boston Butchers, whom Mike Fontanez competed for, and a lot of other fighters, including Rashidi Ellis, got to know the CES system through TCL. They wanted to be a part of it. Fontanez was kind of bouncing around early in his career, didn't have a promoter, didn't really have direction, and now he's here with CES, and just within a few short months, he's now 12-0. He's already headlining his first pro card.
It's an incredible story for a guy who is very charismatic. You know, he calls himself Salsa Mike only on the weekends. He's been progressing really well, and I think CES is the right vehicle for a guy like that who has a lot of talent, a lot of charisma. He's been stepping up. He fought Ray Oliveira Jr.
That's right.
In a big fight, a big step-up fight, and now he steps up as the main event for the first time.
Fontanez tonight in the 8-round headliner against Esnikia Correa from Venezuela. That's going to be a great fight. We also have some new faces tonight. Cian Dugan from Dublin, Ireland, making his United States in his professional debut tonight in a 4-round fight. We've got Jason Colon fighting for the first time, coming out of Lowell, Massachusetts. There you see Cian Dugan taking on on Steve Farrar, also a fellow pro debut from Natick, Massachusetts. That's going to be a very interesting fight, which we will talk about a little bit more. We mentioned Jason Colon from Lowell, Mass in the middleweight division, taking on Johnny Rodrigo Dos Santos. Dos Santos, we've actually seen most recently a Mohegan Sun fighting to a draw against a fellow pro debut fighter as well. So a very interesting turn of events here as Dos Santos tries to play spoiler again. And in our opening bout, we've got Christian Mora making his long-awaited pro debut from Nashua, New Hampshire. A very accomplished amateur background, taking on Brian Andrew Cox, who we will talk about momentarily. Brian Andrew Cox taking this fight on very short notice and stepping up to give Christian Mora the opportunity in his professional debut. We've got so much more to go. We're going to get to the live action in a minute. Mariano, just real quickly, which fight are you looking forward to most tonight?
That's a great question. I do think the main event is going to be the one to look for. Estinga Correa gave a really good account of himself earlier in the year. I feel like that's going to be a great fight.
There's so much tremendous action tonight on this card. You talk about the rising prospects in New England and where these fighters are going and the direction they're taking. We talked about Kevin Walsh. A lot of guys, late bloomers in their career, getting their start tonight. But it's really exciting to see what CES has done in New England and really absorbing all the great young talent and just building its roster for a future run. I think these next few years, Mariano, 2025, 2026, 2027, you're going to see some amazing talent come out of the CES ranks. We saw tonight in the ring earlier on, Jermaine the Technician Ortiz, fresh off his big win on DAZN. He is the perfect example of what a New England fighter can do with the right promoter behind him pushing his career, and now Jermaine is on the worldwide scene. And with that being said, we're about to get ready to start with the live action. We're going to send up to the man behind the mic, our man Patrick Sullivan, our ring announcer, who's about to introduce the first bout of the evening.
Did you start? Yes.
So I'm the timekeeper. So before when the guys come out.
Let's get going with the first professional bout of the evening. Making his way to the ring, Brian Andrew Cox.
And welcome back to the Lowell Memorial Auditorium. Michael Parenti joined by Mariano Agmi stepping in tonight for Sucre Oliveira. We're going to be bringing you all the action throughout this card. Mill City Mayhem 2. I'll get that right at some point. Tonight, our first bout of the evening. This one is going to be in the featherweight division. Here is Brian Cox from Cedar Hill, Texas, making this trip to New England on very short notice and ready to step up tonight.
And his opponent, Christian Mora.
Mariano, listen to that ovation. Do you think that Christian's got some fans here tonight or what?
Well, he comes from Nashua, New Hampshire, same gym as Mike Fontanez and Rashidi Ellis. So, they have a lot of people that they brought with them tonight.
Christian Mora making his long-awaited pro debut at 26 years of age. An amateur career that dates back to 17 years old, multiple New England Golden Glove titles. You hear this crowd going absolutely bonkers for Christian Mora as he steps into the ring. They're dying to see him finally shed the headgear and get the gloves on and get ready to go. And with that, we're going to send it up to our ring announcer, Pat Sullivan, for the official introduction.
This fight is 4 rounds in the super bantamweight division. Fighting out of the blue corner, he weighed in at 124 pounds. Making his 6th professional boxing appearance from Cedar Hill, Texas, Brian Andrew Cox. And his opponent, fighting out of the red corner, he weighed in at 125 pounds. Making his professional boxing debut from Nashua, New Hampshire, ladies and gentlemen, Christian Mora! 4 rounds in the super bantamweight division.
Here we go, Mariano. Referee Johnny Callis ready to call the action for this first fight of the evening. Brian Andrew Cox trying to get win number 1. He's had some tough luck so far, now taking this fight on short notice. Only 20 years of age is Brian Cox. Is a southpaw. That can be a little tricky. We'll see what Christian Mora brings to the table. His fans and he as well has been waiting a long time for this.
Absolutely, and Brian Cox we recently saw against Joseph J. Lee Chisholm, so he does come to fight.
Brian Cox emptying the tank early. That's going to be a slip there, but he's coming in very quick. Kind of pushed more into the ropes there, but landed a couple of shots. So Cox coming out very aggressive here in the first 15 seconds. And this is tough, Mariano. When you fight someone that is a last-minute replacement that you know nothing about, it's going to take a few seconds to kind of get that timing down. Especially
when he's a southpaw, right? He has 5 fights under his belt. Christian Mora is making his pro debut. I'm sure there's some nerves there, fighting in front of a lot of people he knows.
There's that pressure to finish strong, send the crowd home happy. A lot of awkward style here, too. A lot of clashing. Both guys getting tied up. Johnny Callis has been around for a long time. He's on top of the action tonight. Cox just swinging from the fences. Runs into a quick left there.
For Christian, I think he just has to remember to keep it professional, right? And not engage and fall into a barn burner with Brian Cox, where they're just swinging away wildly.
The thing sometimes, too, with a fighter like Cox coming in on short notice is that they don't have a lot of stamina. He's in shape. He looks good. But does he have the cardio to go around? He may figure, I've got a good minute and a half here. I'm emptying it all out. And if I can't get him out of there in 90 seconds, I don't stand a chance. But he's coming out super aggressive here in the first minute and a half. And for Mora, it's an opportunity to get that timing down. And very early at Mariano, as you know, in a fighter's career, very early, they face a lot of awkward challenges. Sometimes these fighters come out from different gyms. They come from an MMA background or a wrestling background. Their style is unorthodox. It's a tough adjustment early on.
And for Christian, you saw that he did just change stances, and he's starting to compose himself and catch Cox with some counter shots.
The best thing for Mora is if this action slows to a crawl and he can execute. And at some point you figure if Cox comes in that quickly all the time as he eats a left hand there, he's eventually going to gas himself out. .45 seconds to go in round 1. This one's scheduled for 4 in the super bantamweight division.
This is a very good test for Christian Mora, I think, in his first fight.
This is what you expect in a pro debut. Again, you may face someone a little awkward. As somebody coming in with a chip on their shoulder, as Cox might be. And facing a pro debut as the opponent, you're being brought in there to lose, let's be honest. And you want to go out there and give a good show and sometimes spoil the party. And we've seen that happen. It's not uncommon.
And he definitely wants to get his first win, right? So he's going to try his hardest to do that.
Cox, of course, a guy, as we get to the final bell here, who stays ready, stays in the gym, and that's why he was able to take this opportunity, Mariano, on very short notice. But a very interesting opening round. Cox came out with the flurry early, but it seems like Mora has settled into a nice pace.
Things settled down. And as you mentioned, I think Cox, you could tell he's trained well for the fight. He must have been in training before he got the late call.
That's the thing, too. That's a good point, Mariano. For all we know, Cox may have had a fight back home lined up. Maybe the fight fell through, thinking, what am I going to do? I just had a fight. Now he gets a phone call. Well, yeah, I'm ready. Let's go. So sometimes that is the case here. We always assume with the fighter taking a fight on short notice that he's just getting up off the couch. And that's not always the case. I think in the case of Brian Cox, looks like he's in shape. We'll see what the cardio looks like if he gets past round 2 or into round number 3. But you're right. Perhaps there was something lined up. And as always is the case in boxing, things fall through, but doors open real quickly.
As long as they're not heavyweights, right? You can, if they're in the lower weights, they have to be in shape, some kind of shape to come in looking like this.
To make 124, not a lot of guys walk around that weight. He's not a straw weight. So as we know, he's on weight. This is the weight he fights at. So very good chance that he was training for something before here. Round 2 underway. Much slower pace to start out.
Yeah, it looks like Mora now is trying to land that jab.
I stand corrected as Cox comes out swinging again.
Here we go.
First 15 seconds, Cox trying to land a haymaker or a difference maker. He's caught Mora a couple of times here. Mora's got to hang on just to kind of get his bearings. He did.
Right hand.
He did. Cox not looking like an 0-5 fighter thus far, I will say. I mean, the style's unorthodox. those looping punches, you're not going to last long with that as he gets pushed to the ground. That's not a knockdown. But now Cox spitting out the mouthpiece here.
Looks like he might be injured or something.
May have an injury situation here. Cox trying to get to his feet. Looks like he's indicating that he can't go, and they're going to wave it off.
But that was really surprising. Just before this, he gave a good account of himself, and then suddenly things ended.
A very interesting turn of events. It wasn't a knockdown. Callis waved it off, said it was not a knockdown. We're going to take a look at the replay here. He just falls down. I'll be honest with you. Seen this a lot, Mariano. Maybe there's a little body blow there, but doesn't look like it's too much more than a glancing blow. Just not sure if Cox wanted to continue.
I'm wondering whether there was a leg injury. He trapped Mora against the ropes and just collapsed.
Johnny Callis standing over us, announcing that it's going to be a TKO in round number 2. But in any event, the end result is what most people expected. Christian Mora getting the victory to improve to 1-0 in his pro debut fight. This goes down as a TKO. Brian Cox is still down on the canvas. The ringside physician is checking out his midsection. So maybe he ran out of gas. We're not really entirely sure, but it doesn't matter what that is in the end, as it boils down to a victory for Christian Mora, who I think, Mariano, as we wait for the particulars, did a nice job of weathering that early storm in each round. Cox came out wild, kind of unorthodox as he gets helped to his feet here in the corner. And Mora did a good job of just kind of keeping his composure, which is what you like to see from a young fighter.
I agree. He fought through adversity. He tried to establish his jab. Of course, Cox didn't give him much opportunity for that, but at the end of the day, he picks up the W.
We're waiting for Brian Cox to get to his feet. With that, we're going to send it up to Pat Sullivan.
Ladies and gentlemen, the fight comes to an end at 1 minute in the second round for your winner by TKO in his professional debut, Christian Mora!
So there it is, Christian Mora, who's waited a lifetime for this, gets the dub. Let's send it back to Pat Sullivan, who has our winner.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm joined here with your winner in his professional debut. I know it's a long time coming to get in here as a professional. To do it here with the loud ovation you got, this moment, what does this mean to you?
It's overwhelming, man. It's such an honor. I've seen Mike learn so much from Alex and Andrew. I've known Mike since I was 15, and now I get to turn pro in the same card that he's headlining. So, man, I'm gonna cry. It's also my late friend's birthday. He died about a month ago. Juan, I love you. Happy birthday. I hope you're proud.
Well, I can tell you who is proud tonight. All of these people that are out here tonight cheering and supporting you. I know the emotions are running high, so I'm going to say congratulations and let you thank your crowd here tonight.
Guys, thank you so much for coming out. I know all my friends up, my Irish family is up here too. I love you guys. My first responders, my EMS crew. I love you guys too. Everyone else that came out to support me from Title everywhere. I love you so much. Thank you for coming out. Many more, baby. Peace.
Congratulations to your winner by second round TKO, Christian Mora!
As you mentioned during the pre-show, Christian Mora fighting out of the same gym as Mike Fontanez, who headlines tonight, says he's known Mike since he was 15 years old. So a true coming-of-age story here tonight. Congratulations to Christian Mora on the pro debut win. We're going to send it back to the studio. Don't go anywhere. We've got more to come at Mill City Mayhem 2. Keep them going, baby.
Time for some more t-shirts. Loudest fans get
Yeah.
Damn, you're throwing them up there. You need them tight?
So
I
many.
like how circular.
Bottom rope is way too tight.
right?
Fight fans now coming to the ring, Steve Farrar.
Him too, Michael Parenti joined by Mariano Agami, and here we are in our second bout of the evening in the welterweight division. Here comes Stephen Farrar making his pro debut at 35 years young from Natick, Massachusetts. Interestingly enough, on social media, Farrar called for Kian Dugan, his opponent tonight. He wanted the opportunity to fight him and said this was one of the people that he really wanted to match up with. As you take a look at the tail of the tape, well, he's going to get his wish tonight. We'll see what he has in store.
And his opponent, Kian Dugan.
And here is Kian Dugan making the trip all the way from Dublin, Ireland. He has been training on and off in Boston, Mass, training under the guidance of Jay Kelly, former pro boxer from Boston, and Jay Kelly's father, Danny Kelly, who has managed countless fighters in the past in New England. They have a connection to the Irish fighters. They've brought many over from Ireland to fight, and they've brought some to CES here, and they had some on the amateur portion of tonight's show, and now they have Kian Dugan making his pro debut. And boy, Kian's got a great resume, Mariano. If you look at all the amateur accolades, you never know how it's going to translate, but the resume's there.
And he says he has a pro style, so I'm really looking forward to seeing his pro debut, especially against a guy who called him out. Those tend to be good fights because maybe Farrar sees something in Kian.
Who knows, yeah.
But for a European fighter to make his pro debut in the U.S. is a big deal. A lot of them dream of doing it. He's doing it in his first pro bout.
And we'll talk more about this as the fight goes on, that Stephen Farrar does have a very accomplished amateur background himself. It dates back quite some time, not as recently as Kian Dugan, but it's there, and both fighters have stepped in with some pretty quality opponents in the past. And with that, we'll send it up to Pat Sullivan.
This fight is 4 rounds in the welterweight division. Fighting out of the blue corner, he weighed in at 147 pounds. Making his professional debut from Natick, Massachusetts, Steve Farrar. And his opponent, fighting out of the red corner, he weighed in at 144 pounds. Making his highly anticipated professional boxing debut from Dublin, Ireland. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Kian the Dub Dugan! 4 rounds in the welterweight division.
We're just about ready to go at bout number 2 here at Mill City Mayhem 2. Melissa Kelly, the official in charge of the action tonight in this bout. Kian Dugan taking on Steve Farrar. We don't know if there's a personal war between these two, but Farrar called out Dugan at some point on social media, and Danny Kelly said, hey, let's make that happen. And a lot of times they say that and it never happens, but here we actually have it happening.
He got his wish. Let's see if it turns out well for him.
Farrar is in the black trunks with the gray trim, Dugan in the black and gold. Now, Dugan, we mentioned, has a extensive amateur background, mostly in Ireland. Farrar, his amateur background dates back to 2010-2011. Fought Toka Khan in the amateurs in Fall River, former New England Golden Gloves champion himself. He was actually the 132-pound novice champion in the Southern New England Golden Gloves back in 2010 when he was just 20 years old. So his mouthpiece come out.
So he's had a great amateur. He had some great amateur achievements. I wonder why he turned pro so late in his career.
A lot of things can happen, as you know, along the way. We never know if sometimes life gets in the way, let's be honest, and fighters find something else to do and pursue a different career. Kian Dugan seems as serious about this. He's 23, still young, still in the early prime of his career. Obviously, for Farrar at 35, it's going to be tough sledding. We'll see if he can make something happen here tonight.
And, Mike, it's great to see the kind of support that Irish fighters get when they fight in the U.S., but particularly in New England.
And we'll see if Dugan starts working the body. And not to be insulting, but Farrar a little softer on the midsection. Let's be realistic. That would be an area that I would target if I'm Dugan, and we'll see if he does that. And we don't know Farrar if he had to cut a lot of weight coming into this fight or if he didn't cut a lot of weight, maybe fighting heavier than he would. He did fight at 132 as an amateur, but he's 35 now. It's tougher to make that weight at that age. Dugan so far just peppering him at this point.
He's sticking that jab up to the head and down to the stomach, which takes a lot out of a fighter.
Changing levels is always difficult as the opponent on the receiving end. not knowing if he's going to go upstairs or go back down to the body. But Duggan's established a pretty good pace here in round 1.
He's controlling the fight. Jab is key, but he's landing some great left hands to go with it.
Nice little jab there by Farrar.
Overhand left just landed for Kian.
Kian just seems a tick faster. That's a big factor, obviously. The foot speed and the hand speed
He's
factor.
very sharp.
Yeah.
Very sharp.
20 seconds to go here in round 1. Farrar really has just been in defensive mode for most of this round. Farrar charging in there with a couple of rights and lefts at the bell, but a good opening round for Kian Dugan, who looks sharp, boxing circles around his opponent. Now, if you're Farrar, you really got to get something going here. It's only a 4-round fight. You can't fall behind in the cards too much. If you're Farrar, it may be time to just go for broke here in round 2, get aggressive and see what you can do.
I think it's time to empty the tank if he can and see what he can do against Kian.
Clearly, Kian obviously comfortable in this position here. He will box in this rhythm the whole night if he has to and get the W and not really have to put the foot to the pedal much to try to get him out of there. Now, it depends. Sometimes as a pro debut, you feel that pressure, Mariano. As you know, a lot of people come to see you fight for the first time. They want to see you end with a splash, a big knockout, something that's a highlight reel victory. And sometimes fighters feel pressure to do that, and it gets them out of their rhythm a little bit. But Kian looks sharp and composed. You know, he's 23. He's had a lot of amateur experience. And as you mentioned, he's got that pro style. So he seems like more of the fighter who will take his time and let this come to him if it does come to him eventually and not try to seek it out.
He looks more seasoned than you would think, right, for a pro debut. Very poised. Very different pro debut than Chris Shamara had.
Sure.
Because Farrar is just not as aggressive as Cox was.
No, that's a great point. He didn't have an opponent come flying at him in the first 15 seconds of the fight where he had to make a quick adjustment. I think he knows the opponent well. It seems like they know each other from the fact that one called out the other. So there's a little more familiarity there, which probably makes it easier for Dugan to just pick him apart at this point. But we'll see if Farrar snaps at some point and comes forward and tries to get something going. He's going to have to start soon.
And I wonder whether Dugan took it a little personally, right, that he got called out for his pro debut. Dugan really digging some shots to the body here.
Yeah, again, Dugan just working the body, changing levels, going back upstairs. Farrar at this point, really through most of the first round and a half, has been a sitting target.
He seems limited to throwing 1 or 2 shots and then just waiting. And Dugan is really capitalizing on that. He can fight at his pace, and it looks like he really could hurt him whenever he wants to, if he wants to hit the accelerator.
And that's the thing, too. Sometimes a fighter, if you're employing the strategy that Farrar is employing, maybe you're a better counterpuncher. We don't know enough about Farrar to know if we can make that claim or not. And we have to really see a little more action to make that determination. But right now, he's not really thrown back as Dugan comes in. And Dugan's getting in and out quickly. 1 or 2 shots, get back out on the outside on the perimeter and just continue to outbox him.
And Farrar hasn't been hurt by anything yet. So it might just be a matter of not realizing that Dugan was better than Farrar thought.
We mentioned the age gap a lot, but with age gaps come speed gaps and certainly conditioning. Nice combination there by Dugan. Boxing well on angles, too. Doing a really nice job here through the first 1 round plus. Going back downstairs on Farrar. Double right hook. And like you said, Farrar doesn't seem phased or hurt, but he's losing the fight on the cards. And that's ultimately the most important thing.
It's just not active enough here.
No.
And it looks like it's a matter of time at this point before the fight ends.
I think so, too. And a lot of times, if this were a longer fight, a 6-round fight, an 8-round fight, if you had an opponent or your fighter is taking that kind of punishment, even if it doesn't look like it's hurting, it's just sustained damage that you do not need to take. You will see a corner throw in the towel. We've seen that in the past with Paulie Malignaggi, who I forget the opponent, but was just taking a constant pounding for 7-8 rounds. He said, listen, he's got no shot of winning this fight. We're going to pull the plug on it.
Absolutely.
Farrar taking a nice stiff jab to the body there by Dugan. And there's the final bell for round 2. So Farrar not doing much here to get anything going. Dugan just doing what he does. And if I'm Dugan, as we take a look at some of the replay action, I don't feel a real sense of urgency to do anything different than what I'm doing now.
It really looks to me like he could end this fight whenever he decides to. But you only make your pro debut once. He's probably feeling it out, making sure that everything is just right.
Yeah, I'm always on the fence about getting rounds. Ray and I have talked about this a lot of times. Pro debut fighters, sometimes your first 4 or 5 fights, like a Jadel Pazmino, for example, he's only fought 7 rounds in his career. He's fought 7 times. So at what point do you get some work in? And you really do want that at a certain point. You get to 7-0 and 8-0, you need to see if you can absorb damage. You need to see if you can adjust to an opponent's style after a 3rd or 4th round. So Dugan kind of getting some early work here, going at least 2 rounds and maybe 3. I like to see that. I know the knockouts look great, but I think there's a benefit to both.
I like to see that as well. I think it's good to see how a fighter maintains his energy or not through the course of a fight. And Dugan is looking just as sharp right now as he did in the first round.
So referee Melissa Kelly gives some words of encouragement to Farrar, perhaps telling him, pick up the pace, I need to see something, which a referee will often do. Kind of give him a precursor warning. If I don't see something here, I'm just going to pull the plug. So we'll see if Farrar picks it up. He's down 2 rounds here to Dugan. Once again, Michael Parenti, Mariano Agami joining us, we thank you for, on Swerve Combat. Mill City Mayhem 2. Mouthpiece again comes out. Second time that's happened. Well, we're not going to clean it off. Going right back in.
Wow.
It's like a child's pacifier right off the floor and target. Dugan gets back to work. 1 minute into round number 3. This one's scheduled for 4. We'll see if it goes for. Right now, it's all Kian Dugan, Mariano. I mean, it's the same story from round 1 to round 3.
The little that Farrar throws, he seems to miss.
Well, we got a little timeout here. We have a ring malfunction, so the logo taped down on the ring. One side of the tape came off. Great job by Melissa Kelly. Ripped that strip right off and got out of the ring. Good job.
Wasted
no time at all. We'll see if the ring crew comes back in and flattens that out. Could be a tripping hazard at some point, so that is important.
Sure. Dugan landed a couple of nice right hooks just now.
Jab to the body by Dugan. Farrar tried to come in, he missed, and then got spun around, and then Dugan made him pay for it with a couple of quick combinations there against the ropes. Farrar looks like he's kind of laughing at him, like he doesn't think it's much, but he's not winning the fight, so it's not a laughing matter in the end when the bell rings.
No, he's about to be down 3-0 here.
Nice combination again by Dugan.
Dugan is starting to earn some very clean shots.
Oh, and you mentioned too, Mariano, that if a fighter calls you out, it is personal. You would definitely take that personal. It's as if you're saying I can be beat.
That's right.
And so maybe at some point Dugan will give him what he is hoping for, and maybe he will put that foot to the pedal, and we'll see if he turns it up here, and could be coming at the end of round 3, maybe in round 4, trying to close this out in style. But I think you're right. I think it looks like he is starting to pick it up a little more there. Nice clean 2-punch combo there.
Very sharp punches.
Farrar, at the very least, gets out of the corner, but he's about to be backed into another one. And now some shots are really starting to land here. Farrar in some trouble as he's covering up against the ropes. Melissa Kelly's on the outside. She's about ready to step in here and put an end to this.
Time here.
I don't think Farrar's got much left, and that's going to do it. Melissa Kelly wisely steps in and stops this one. Kian Dugan turns up the pressure and gets a knockout victory. Just a great performance.
You know, Mike, it's like we were saying, once Kian decided that he wanted to end matters, he did.
So Kian Dugan with the victory in his pro debut. Here's a look at the replay. You see the referee just waiting. Farrar not showing much, just covering up to try not to absorb more damage, and in the end, a good stoppage, an appropriate fitting stoppage to this fight, as Kian Dugan really dominated from the opening bell.
He landed some hellacious shots there at the end. Mike, it'll be interesting to see how far a guy like Dugan can go. You know, we've had other Irish fighters come to the U.S. with mixed level of success.
Sure.
But Dugan has an opportunity here to really improve his brand both in the U.S. and Ireland, which he says he wants to fight in both countries.
And that's certainly not uncommon at all. He may fly back to Dublin tomorrow and get some pro fights out there, and next time he's in town, if CES or anybody else is running a show, you may see him right back here in New England again. So it's a good opportunity to stay busy. If you're always ready, you will have opportunities, and Kian Dugan will have plenty in store for him. Great job in his pro debut tonight, and with that, we're going to send it back up to our ring announcer, Pat Sullivan, with the particulars.
You good? Round 3, yep. One thing. Ladies and gentlemen, the fight comes to an end at 2 minutes and 43 seconds of round number 3. For your winner by TKO, Kian Dugan!
So there it is, 2:40 into round number 3. Kian Dugan with the victory in his professional debut, finishing off Steve Farrar. With that, we'll send it back up to Pat Sullivan,
All right,
who I believe has our winner.
Your winner. Big TKO win tonight for Kian. This has been a long time coming, getting you in here as a professional. How's this moment feel?
Best moment that I had in boxing. Unbelievable. Big thanks to Jay Kelly, big thanks to Dan Kelly, and a big thanks to Mr. Walsh for having me on this show. I told you last Saturday he's having a superstar, and I just proved it there.
Now, your nickname is the Dub, probably because you're from Dublin, but tonight the Dub means a big win. Why don't we thank all of our fans who came out here tonight to support you, because you had a lot of people out here rooting for you.
Thank you very much for showing up for our people. Early debut, Ireland forever.
All right, congratulations to your winner by 3rd round TKO, Kian the Dub Dugan!
So the Dub gets the dub in his first pro fight. Kian Dugan with the victory, 3rd round knockout over Stephen Farrar to improve to 1-0. Farrar dropping to 0-1 also in his pro debut. Don't go anywhere. We've got plenty more to come here on Swerve Combat. Stay tuned.
Let's welcome the next fighter walking to the ring, Johnny Rodrigo dos Santos.
Welcome back to Swerve Combat and welcome back to Mill City Mayhem 2. Michael Parenti joined by Mariano Agami. And here we go in the middleweight division. 4 rounds. Johnny Rodrigo dos Santos taking on Jason Colon. And right now, dos Santos making his way to the ring. Very interesting fighter, deceptive record. He is 0-2-1, but his last fight came off a draw against Iwale Tom Jones at Mohegan Sun. Tom Jones was making his pro debut. He won the first 2 rounds easily. He scored a knockdown. Dos Santos fought back, scored a knockdown of his own, won the 4th round and escaped with the draw, which in many cases some would say was almost a moral victory. So this is not a guy to mess with.
And Mike, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a tough fight,
And
just
his
because of that.
opponent, Jason Colon.
And now coming to the ring from Lowell, Massachusetts, he's 1-0 with 1 win by knockout. Jason Colon, 29 years of age. We talked about, Mariano, some of the late bloomers on this card, and Colon is a guy who wants to make up for a lot of lost time. Originally started out as a basketball player. A lot of thought that he may extend his career, perhaps play collegiately. Ended up falling in love with boxing, had an extensive amateur career, had not fought for a couple of years until making his pro debut in November. He scored a big knockout, trains under Sean Farley at the Haverhill Boxing Club. So here he is tonight making his CES debut, and again, trying to make up for that lost time and rack up as many fights as possible. As you know, at 29, that's a big transition to going to age 30, where he wants to get things done. And with that, let's go back up to Pat Sullivan.
This next fight is 4 rounds in the middleweight division that is brought to you by Express Printing. Fighting out of the blue corner, he weighed in at 165 pounds. Making his 3rd trip to the boxing ring as a professional, from Winchester, Massachusetts, Johnny Rodrigo dos Santos. And his opponent, fighting out of the red corner, he weighed in at 164 pounds. His record, 1 win, no losses, without 1 win coming by way of knockout. He fights out of the Mill City, Lowell, Massachusetts. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jason Cologne.
Boxing coaches.
Johnny Callis
4 rounds in the middleweight division. The referee is Johnny Callis.
with last-minute instructions before this bout begins. And here we are once again, 4 rounds in the middleweight division. Jason Cologne in the black and white trunks taking on Johnny Rodrigo dos Santos, also in black and white. Let's just say that Cologne has the silver shoes, right?
He's got some impressive-looking shoes,
Got
Mike.
some great footwear tonight. We'll see if he's got the footwork to match it as we get round number 1 underway. And again, Cologne, very much a late bloomer. Short amateur career, but a successful one as he now steps into the pro ranks at 29. And again, like we mentioned, he wants to really get a lot of fights under his belt.
Coming from the Mill City and fighting for the first time at Lowell Memorial Auditorium, you know, he's got a lot. He's got a lot to look forward to here, and he's fighting a guy who's pretty awkward, right? Any of these guys who have an MMA background, they're awkward. They can catch you off guard, as Rodrigo dos Santos did to Ayawale Tom Jones last time out.
And they're just tough. They're tough guys. They can stand in there. Sometimes they can take a beating. Before that fight with Tom Jones and Mohegan Sun, we saw Dos Santos right here in Lowell on June 21st against Brian Long, and he went 4 rounds in a very tough fight there. So this is not going to be easy work for Jason Cologne. Now, if he does make quick, easy work of an opponent like this, it says a lot. But I think that Dos Santos will do what he typically does and just stay in there. And sometimes that awkward fight style can make it very tough. And again, he's got a good chin. He's taking some shots. He's elusive, as you saw right there. Cologne missing with the right hand. Dos Santos is a good test for a fighter early in his career. Not a guy that gets a lot of W's, but a guy that gives you a fight.
And Michael, you can see here, Cologne is one of 3 fighters on this card of Puerto Rican descent. Again, as we mentioned earlier, you know, Puerto Rico has a very rich tradition in boxing, so you can expect them to be tough. And a lot of them tend to be boxer punchers.
Good quick left hands, too, here by Cologne. Switching up styles a bit, too. Going back and forth between southpaw, orthodox. He noted in one of his last amateur fights in the New England Golden Gloves in 2022 that his opponent's southpaw style had thrown him off a bit. And it's all part of the game. It's all part of the adjustment. That's where you really want to get your feet wet in the amateur ranks and take on different fighters. Take on southpaws, take on orthodox fighters. Get you ready for whatever you may face when you actually get to the pro ranks.
And that's what's great about CES as far as testing their up-and-coming fighters. They're not afraid to throw them in there with guys who give them different looks, different styles, so that by the time they are ready for the big time, they are able to shine, right, and not just fall apart.
That's a great point. They do a good job of building fighters, but also making them test themselves and making them work. When you as a promoter or even a manager in some cases have an investment in a fighter financially, you want to see what they have, and you don't want to wait too long or invest a lot of time and money into seeing what you have on hand. And in cases like this with Cologne, it's going to be a very quick rise at 29. It's very tough at this age to debut or to build a career.
There's
right?
not a lot of time, absolutely.
A lot of guys at 29 might have 10 to 12 fights under their belt and are ready to go to that next level, kind of like a Kevin Walsh if you think about that comparatively.
Yep.
And he's another guy who started late as well, but Cologne starting even later. But again, the opportunities are here. CES has really started to dive into this territory in Lowell. It's the second fight this year in Lowell in 2025, so more opportunities could be on the horizon for Cologne if he impresses. And there is the bell for round 1. Very feeling out process so far, Mariano, for both fighters.
Cologne established his jabs during the round. We didn't see a lot from Dos Santos yet, but as I mentioned, he's an MMA fighter. He threw a couple of big shots.
Dos Santos doing what he typically does, which is just hang in there and make it tough and take a couple of shots, but also avoid a lot and get out of the way. And he has pretty good footwork, too. A lot of MMA fighters that transition to boxing don't have that sophisticated footwork or the right stance. They come kind of squared up instead of fighting on that angle with the lead foot. Dos Santos looks more like a boxer, not just an MMA fighter trying to box. And there's a big difference between that. And Ray Oliveira and I have talked about that many times here in the broadcast, but you can always tell the difference when the bell rings And Dos Santos may have carved out a niche here. He still does fight actively in MMA. He has 17 pro fights in MMA. So he has been around the block a number of times. And this isn't a guy who's really defined by one discipline. He's just a fighter.
A lot more experience than you would think, right? When you look at
Sure.
an 0-2-1 record.
You're talking between the two sports, more than 20 pro fights.
So he's not going to freeze up in there.
No. There's the bright lights don't phase him. Awkward different styles don't phase him. He just goes in there and competes, and that's what makes him tough. And you saw what happened last time. If I'm a fighter who takes on Dos Santos in any capacity, I'm going back to that Tom Jones fight at Mohegan Sun to see how he got himself literally off the canvas after getting knocked down to win the last 2 rounds of that fight. And he doesn't get a draw without scoring a knockdown of his own. It's very impressive work.
And as you mentioned, the first thing I look at when I see an MMA fighter in boxing is, are they going to square up? A lot of them tend to square up. And as you mentioned, Rodrigo's not. He's not squaring up. He looks like he knows what he's doing out there.
Round 2 scheduled for 4. Michael Parenti and Mariano Agmi bringing you all the action here tonight on Swerve Combat. Colon trying to take this fight over, letting his hands go a little bit more here in round 2. And that could just be the feeling out process. And sometimes it does, even in a 4-round fight. They say it's kind of blasphemous to want a feeling out round when you don't have that much time, but sometimes you need that to see what the opponent has.
And as you can see here, they're applying different tactics, right? Where Rodrigo Dos Santos is trying to fight on the inside, Colon is trying to use that long jab and right hand to keep him at bay.
No, you're right. He's got a very good reach, Colon has, and he can use that to his advantage. We talk so much about fighters and their height when they have a height advantage, none of which means anything if they don't use it to their actual advantage. Nice left hand by Colon.
Beautiful left hand.
Minute 15 to go in round 2.
And Michael, one of the guys that illustrates your point the most is the towering inferno, Sebastian Fundora,
Yes.
who, he's very successful, but he does like to engage. He doesn't use his height or reach to his advantage a lot of times.
I think we all assume the taller fighter is just going to keep him at the end of his jab all night and just keep his distance. But like you said, there is a guy that wants to mix it up when he doesn't have to.
Right, and he's very exciting to watch.
Yeah, and some fighters are just cut from a different cloth, and we'll see what kind of cloth Colon is cut from tonight in this matchup with Dos Santos, because this is, for a second pro fight, a tough one. But I think Sean Farley, his trainer, and others want to see what he has, and I'm sure he himself wants to see at 29, does not want to waste a lot of time with tune-up fights and be 32-33, and maybe you're 8-0, 9-0, but you're not tested.
You want to capitalize while you're still in your physical prime, and so you have to do it over the next couple of years if you're Jason Colon and his handlers.
And that could be one of the drawbacks of starting late, but at the same time, if you get wins like this against quality opponents, it's not a bad thing. There's the sound for the final 10 seconds of round 2. And there we go. So interesting, 2 rounds in the books here. Colon establishing a better pace here in round 2. How do you have it?
I got it 2-0. 2-0 Colon. I thought he landed a couple of good right hands as well in that last round.
Colon's amateur career dating back to that 2019, that pre-COVID era, and then after COVID got right back in there, 2021, 2022. He had lost in the New England Golden Gloves finals in 2022, and then decided shortly after that he had taken some time off and didn't fight for 2 years until making his debut in November of 2024, and that was against Zenon Herrera. That fight in New Hampshire for Boston Boxing Promotions. He got the knockout victory. I think that was in round number 1, I believe, if I'm correct. So Colon hasn't had a ton of ring experience, but he's getting it tonight as he goes into round number 3 here against Dos Santos. In this fight, honestly, Mariano is going exactly how I expected it would go, where Dos Santos may be down, but as you know, he's not out. This is actually where he may be doing his best work, ironically.
He's definitely still dangerous. He's got those winging punches. One of them could land, and then we have a different fight on our hands here. The fighters seem to be having a little bit of trouble with the ring apron.
There have been some footing issues here tonight. Colon trying not to let it distract him. Same for Dos Santos as he starts charging in. Nice shot there by
beautiful right hand.
Colon. Caught him with the right hand. And I'll stop your opponent. That's a good way to stop a hard-charging opponent in his or her tracks, is you just stick that jab out there, and they end up on the receiving end.
And you can see that things are heating up here. Both of them are now trying to make their move.
The reality is, no matter what we scored here, it doesn't matter. And perhaps in the minds of the corners, it could be 1-1. Maybe one fighter thinks he's down 2-0. Maybe they both think it's even, and this could be the swing round, this third round, which could get you in the driver's seat going into the fourth if it goes that far. So this is a crucial round for both.
And
Cologne,
they're fighting like it.
And they are, and they absolutely are. And Cologne doing a good job here, too, avoiding some of those wide looping shots by Dos Santos. In the back of his mind, he knows that this opponent's dangerous. We saw that last time out in July for Dos Santos. Good left again there, yeah.
Mike, the fighters are standing right in front of each other, so there's plenty of opportunity here for some action.
And as you know, in a situation like this, as we get into the final minute of the round, in a lot of cases, sometimes you can steal a close round in the last 25, 30 seconds. A couple of flurries, land a couple of shots, get the crowd on its feet. Judges typically remember the last thing they see. And there have been many cases, many fighters who have fashioned their style and their exact philosophy of letting it all out in the final 40 seconds to try to steal the round. And I still think this round in particular is up for grabs.
Definitely. I think Dos Santos is pressing more in this round. The fight definitely looks a little different.
And here we are in the final 30 seconds. I think, again, Cologne slipping on that logo in the center of the ring. And had to catch his footing for a bit. Good right hand by Dos Santos, who stuns Cologne. And now Dos Santos has Cologne in a little bit of trouble here. Big right and left. Cologne backed up against the ropes. This is where that inexperience shows here as the bell rings, where Cologne should have held on for those final 10 seconds instead of trying to get into a slugfest with Dos Santos, who I think now stole that round.
Absolutely, absolutely. He had him reeling, and we said it early on. Dos Santos could surprise us at any moment, and there came the surprise, right? He landed one of those waiting shots, and he definitely took that round.
We said it, we warned you at home, do not sleep on Johnny Rodrigo Dos Santos, who again, in the third round, perhaps behind 2 rounds himself, lands a big right hand. He catches Cologne, he caught him with 3 or 4 more clean shots after that in the final 15 seconds, and he wins that round. There's no question he wins that round, and we don't know where the scorecards are. Maybe he's up 2-1 now. Maybe he's only down 2-1. Maybe he now has an opportunity to empty the tank in the 4th round and get another draw. So it's going to be very interesting to see if this does go to the cards, how the judges have this. But a potential momentum changer there by Dos Santos.
And Mike, the question is whether Jason Cologne was able to recover enough in that minute to be able to withstand the assault that is sure to come now.
That's a good point. When you get stunned at the end of a round like that, you only have 60 seconds to kind of get your bearings back. So we'll see, based on the footwork here, if Cologne can keep his footing and get back in control of the fight. But as Dos Santos, if he has anything to say about it, he's going to come out swinging early. I think you were right. He's going to come out quick here because he wants to capitalize on that finish of round 3. Very interesting 4th round here. Michael Parenti, Mariano Agmi bringing you the action.
You know, Dos Santos knows he's fighting in his opponent's backyard. He's going to want to end matters and not leave it up to the judges.
It's so tough to win on the cards in the fighter's hometown. There's no question about that. Cologne again, as we reset in the silver shoes. Both fighters are in black and white trunks, and Dos Santos in the white shoes with the black and white trunks. Final 2 minutes of the fight, and we'll see if Cologne has enough left in the tank here. I think if you're a Cologne, you got to grab this round. You don't want to leave it in the judges' hands and possibly get a draw or maybe worse. I think Cologne's going to really come forward here and start to seize the moment. He is the favored fighter on paper, but not looking like it here as Dos Santos again lands a good 3-punch combo.
You know, Mike, this is an amateur mistake that a lot of fighters make where he switched stances from orthodox to southpaw, and he got caught as soon as he did that.
That's a great point.
And that gave Dos Santos an opportunity again.
Dos Santos starting to steal this round midway through round number 4. I want to talk about a late starter. I mean, Dos Santos is it.
Yeah.
He starts to really pick up the pace in the third round of the fight.
It's deja vu, right?
It's
Last
just
fight, he
like
did
the
the
fight
same
in
thing.
July. It's almost a carbon copy of the fight against Iawali, Tom Jones, and Mohegan Sun. Except now, Jason Colon on the receiving end. And Colon looks tired. Mouth is hanging open. And Dos Santos looks confident. Nothing else you can say. Final minute of the fight. And right now, I got this round going in favor of Dos Santos. I think Colon's going to do something big.
I do. Same for me. Same for me.
I'm not sure. You know, he's
He
starting to
looks
pick it
much
up here.
stronger
Yeah.
As the fight comes to an end. He has 30 seconds left to try to really punctuate the round.
And I think he feels it too as you start to see him let the hands go a little bit here. But Dos Santos again charging in. Final 10 seconds. Dos Santos misses with a right hand at the end, but another very interesting round. Not sure where this one goes. It's anybody's guess at this point how this fight will end up on the cards, but this one does go 4 rounds. Take a look here at some of the replay action, and there's that flurry again by Dos Santos. Probably the cleanest punches landed by any fighter in that round. And you may have to give it to him based off that.
You know, Mike, we judge fights round by round, but if you look at the fight in its entirety, you would favor Dos Santos.
No, you're right. It's a tale of 2 different fights.
Yeah.
I think just like the Tom Jones fight in July, I think Colon won the first 2 rounds, and I believe, I'm not 100% committed to it, but that Dos Santos may have taken the last 2, and maybe we have another draw. It's going to be very interesting to see what the scorecards show. As you know, it's all in the fate of the judges, and it all depends on what kind of styles they prefer. It doesn't matter what you and I think, as we always remind the fans at home watching, we're the unofficial of unofficial scorekeepers here. This is just an opinion, but based on how we see it, and you're right, Mariano, they judge round by round, but you can see the shift when you watch a fight and you keep the scoring part out of your mind and just watch it from start to finish. Dos Santos clearly finished better, and it was that big flurry at the end of the 3rd round that really changed the perspective of the fight. Did Colon do enough in the first 2 rounds to get the W? We're going to find out soon here as the judges continue to tally up the scores. Another look here at the action. That's that 4th round here where Dos Santos landed those 3 or 4 clean punches on the ropes. And I think Colon, too, did not do a good enough job. Again, at the end of round 3 and parts of here, just holding on. Get your breath, get your bearings, and slow the opponent down. It's not illegal. It's not pretty, but it's part of the tactics that you learn as a veteran fighter.
Sometimes it's necessary.
All right, fight fans, after 4 rounds, we go to the scorecard. Judge Steve Weisfeld scores about 38-38. Judge Joe Peace and Judge Mark Cardarelli scored about 39-37. For your winner by majority decision, Jason
So there it is. 38-38, 39-37 on 2 of the cards. It's a majority decision win for Jason Colon. And we don't know which round may have went differently. Maybe Joe Appice and Cardarelli gave that 4th round to Colon. Or perhaps it scored differently. But it's not a bad decision by any means. It really does come down literally to just 1 round going in a different direction. And that's what ended up happening. I thought maybe in the back of my mind it might be another draw. It was very close. Judge Steve Weisfeld had it just like you and I had it at 38-38 apiece. But in any event, Colon does just enough now that he gets the win. Mariano, what do you need to see going forward?
Well, look, I think that he needs to decide whether he's an orthodox fighter or a southpaw. I feel like that was one of the bigger mistakes that he made in this fight. And I agree with you. I think the 4th round is one that you might look at different ways, because Colon looked like he was composed at the beginning of the round. And then things changed as soon as he got buzzed again.
I do think it comes down to that 4th round. I think it was no question the 3rd round went to Dos Santos, so perhaps I think Colon got 1, 2, and 4 on those 2 cards to escape with the win. And at the end of the day, it counts as a victory and a learning lesson for Jason Clone going forward. And we're going to have more to come as well, so don't go anywhere. Mill City Mayhem 2, back for more after this break.
Moving on to the next fight. Coming to the ring, Giovanni Gutierrez.
Fight fans, welcome back to Swerve Combat in the Lowell Memorial Auditorium for Mill City Mayhem Part 2. We move up now to one of the featured fights that we talked about in the pre-show. Michael Parenti and Mariano Agmi bringing you the action here. And as we mentioned, Jadel Pazmino trying to go to 8-0 tonight. And as we speak, his opponent, Giovanni Gutierrez from Nicaragua, making his way to the ring. If that name sounds familiar to the Swerve viewers, you just saw Giovanni Gutierrez in June right here at this exact same venue against Adrian Sosa. He went 5 hard rounds before getting stopped by Sosa, but it put up a very tough fight. This is a fighter who has gone in there with a who's who of middleweights, welterweights. He's bounced up and down between weights, but a very, very tough customer.
And his opponent, Jadel Pazmino.
And we'll get into Gutierrez's background in a moment and some of the fighters that he's faced. But right now, this is one of the great young, exciting prospects in New England. Jadel Pazmino, as you mentioned, the legacy of carrying on the Pazmanian Devil name, which has been blessed by the original Pazmanian Devil, Vinny Paz, who was here in June when Pazmino fought, almost a virtual passing of the torch, if you will. He has not gone past the first round yet. This is a very exciting fighter. We may get past the first round tonight, but no matter what, you just see a little improvement each fight.
Absolutely. You know, I think having the Pazmanian Devil show up to his locker room in his last fight made him throw his whole plan out the window. His trainer told us that, you know, the plan was to box. As soon as Vinny Paz showed up, he told him, "What are we going to do
Forget
tonight?"
about it. Yeah.
And that was it. The trainer knew Pazmino was just going to go all out.
Pazmino's promoter, Jimmy Birchfield Sr., leading him to the ring tonight. This is one of CES's newest prize acquisitions. They have been stockpiling their roster over the last year and a half, and Pazmino may possibly be the crown jewel of this new class. We'll see how he looks here tonight. We're about ready for action. We're going to send it back up to our ring announcer, Pat Sullivan, for the official introductions.
This fight is 6 rounds in the welterweight division and is brought to you by Di Francesco Construction. Fighting out of the blue corner, he weighed in at 146 pounds. His record, 11 wins, 14 defeats, with 6 big wins coming by way of knockout. Hailing from Nicaragua, Giovanni Babyface Gutierrez. And his opponent, fighting out of the red corner, he weighed in at 147 pounds. His record, perfect. 7 wins, no losses, with 7 big wins coming by way of knockout. Hailing from Sandown, New Hampshire. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jadel, the Pazmanian Devil, Pazmino!
Here we go. Round 1 about to get underway between the babyface, Giovanni Gutierrez, and the Pazmanian Devil, Jadel Pazmino. Pazmino's in the black trunks with the gold lettering. Gutierrez also in black. Everybody has worn almost matching trunks tonight. Is it just me?
No, I agree.
This is actually more of a brown with the gold for Gutierrez, so we can at least distinguish that way. But nonetheless, Gutierrez, again, having some problems there with the logo in the center of the ring.
And, Mike, one of the things that stand out right away is the size difference between these two.
Oh, yeah.
Giovanni Gutierrez is 5'4" to Pazmino's 5'11".
Gutierrez started his career as a lightweight at 135, so he's crept up in weight over recent years just to stay busy. Sometimes it's a little bit easier to get fights if you fight closer to your walk-around weight, and maybe you only have to cut 4 or 5 pounds to get ready for an opportunity, and that kind of goes into that factor. As you start to establish a career as more of a journeyman or a gatekeeper type fighter, you'll fight in almost any weight you can make, and that's what Gutierrez has done. But Gutierrez has been in tough. 10 of his last 12 opponents, all undefeated, including Adrian Sosa, who we faced here in June, and Pazmino no different. So this is a well-traveled, well-versed fighter who has seen almost any style you can throw at him. He won't be surprised by much, but if a fighter does his job, he'll go in there and execute, and that's what Pazmino trying to do here early on.
He's applying a lot of pressure early.
Pazmino changing levels, going to the body, going back upstairs. Again, he hasn't been past the first round, so we'll see if he actually gets some of that much-needed work here tonight against Gutierrez.
And Gutierrez could definitely give him that kind of work, right? I think he's a guy who can last a couple of rounds. You mentioned he started his career as a lightweight. He started actually 9-0 in Nicaragua, and he fought the likes of Ashton Sylvie early in his career, who's a promising lightweight. And you see there, he's not afraid to trade.
He probably should be in some cases, but he's not. He goes in there and he's tough and he wants to fight, as you see there.
Yep.
Not afraid. He won't back down against Pazmino. And Pazmino, you talk about one of those taller fighters that likes to mix it up. He's a taller fighter in this case who's not just trying to keep his opponent at the end of the jab. He's going to go in there and bang.
You know, Mike, for some of the fighters who, like Pazmino, have, scored several first-round knockouts, and I'm thinking of guys like Edgar Berlanga.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's better for the fighter to actually get into the second round because it relieves them of that pressure of having to get a guy out of there in the first round.
That streak can wear on you over some time, and it may have done that to Berlanga as well. And there were several fighters. I think Tyrone Brunson was the one who had the original streak, right, of first-round knockouts. And the more you think about it, it starts to affect your style, and sometimes you're just searching for that first-round knockout, and you get out of rhythm a little bit.
And you're not getting the development you need, right?
No.
Because you're blitzing your opponent, so we don't really see what you got, right?
And we may see it soon, although Gutierrez on the receiving end of some combinations in the final 14 seconds. Pazmino hasn't heard that sound yet. That's the 10-second warning. Also hasn't heard the bell going in round two, but he's about to hear it this way. So Gutierrez does the job that the previous 7 fighters couldn't do, and that's get passed around against Jadel Pazmino, who may be relieved to finally get some work here. Gutierrez is tough. He's hanging in there. Pazmino's throwing everything but the kitchen sink at him, and he's still standing tall.
And you saw him actually give him that recognition as soon as the round ended. He shook his hand and he smiled. Welcome to round 2.
Someday, perhaps, if Jadel Pazmino goes on to bigger, better things, the Giovanni Gutierrez will be the answer of a Trivial Pursuit question someday. Who's the first fighter to take him past round 1? Always had that distinction. But nonetheless, Gutierrez wants to hang in and keep competing, and Pazmino now the opportunity to get some work and try to do some different things. Now you're facing a fighter who has a different style than your previous fighter, who was Aiello Mesquita back in June. You're seeing a different look, so now it's an opportunity to go into the corner and just hear some instruction from your corner and make an adjustment to go in there and see how you apply it. And I think I agree with your point, Mariano, about as a trainer, as a manager, as a promoter, you want to see what your fighter has.
Right.
You want to see him face a little adversity. This wouldn't really qualify as major adversity as we go into round 2, but it's something. It's something a little different, so let's see how he reacts.
It's a puzzle to solve, right?
Exactly.
And Pazmino ended that last round with some really hard shots. So I think he's laying out some groundwork here to soften Gutierrez.
Pazmino again in the black trunks with the gold lettering. Gutierrez in the brown trunks with the gold trim. Round 2. This one's scheduled for 6.
Nice right hand from Pazmino.
Referee Melissa Kelly back in the ring for this bout. Well, Pazmino just picking his opportunities here, taking his time. He's already gone past the first round, so might as well slow it down a little bit and just work on some of the fine tuning.
Exactly. Now we can see what he can do as a boxer and not just a puncher.
Oh.
Gutierrez came to fight.
Sure, a little exchange of some leather here. Nice little short uppercut by Pazmino on the break there. Gutierrez isn't going to back down. That's the one thing. He will go on his shield if he does, in fact, go out. We saw that against Sosa. He gave Sosa 4+ very tough rounds until Sosa finally finished the job in the 5th. That was scheduled for 6 there, so they were close to going the distance in that fight.
With Pazmino, we know he can pitch. Now we want to see if he can catch. And he's shown us so far that he can weather the storm.
We mentioned that Gutierrez really campaigned at 135. He actually started as a super bantamweight, and in 2019 challenged for the IBF North American title. So think about the difference in weight, super bantamweight to now, to coming in at 47. He actually came in at 46 yesterday, so it's a size difference. That's part of boxing. A lot of guys, like we mentioned, they get later in their careers, they fight at different weights, but their body never fully fills out to that weight. You just be a shorter, stockier fighter as opposed to a lean 130, 135.
Exactly. He's height challenged.
Sure.
So he's a stocky fighter, but he can take a good punch.
Sure.
And for him to survive in these higher weights, he's got to be able to box.
Pazmino calling him on. He wants to trade. We'll see if Pazmino forces the issue here as we get into the final 30 seconds of round 2. One thing fighters will tell you is the purse is the same no matter how many rounds you go. They don't get paid by the round.
You don't get paid for overtime, right?
Pazmino again just trying to stalk down Gutierrez. Final 10 seconds of round 2. Good little shot there by Gutierrez. Snuck in that left hand. Good exchange there, too. Some sportsmanship.
Gutierrez losing the rounds, but he's in the fight.
And he's gaining Pazmino's respect for hanging in there and fighting back. I think that's the one thing, too, that we mention so often. A fighter may be in complete control of the fight, but will have a greater level of respect for his opponent if his opponent just continues to fight.
He's outgunned, but he's trying his best.
There is some of the replay action for round number 2. And again, this one is scheduled for 6. We're about to reach the halfway point. And so far, Pazmino Mariano looks good. He's doing what he wants to do in there and at times makes it look easy, but he's getting some much-needed work. And I think at the end of the day, if he completes and finishes the job, whether he stops his opponent or he goes 6, he'll be very grateful for this fight. This could be a good turning point going forward. And it may also, depending on the rounds and how it looks, it determines what your next opponent might be or your next 2 opponents.
Great learning experience. It's going to tell both his trainer and himself, what are some of the things he should work on, right, to sharpen up. But he's looking good so far.
Round 3 underway. Michael Parenti and Mariano Agmi bringing you all the action here on Swerve Combat. And we are at the beautiful, historic Lowell Memorial Auditorium in Massachusetts for Mill City Mayhem 2.
And Mike, as you mentioned that, both Jadel and both of his grandfathers have actually fought in this building in Lowell as amateurs.
There's always some good lineage with the New England fighters. They've all fought in the same venues. They've shared the ring with common opponents. It's such a great storyline in boxing.
And when you see how Pazmino fights, it's hard to believe this, but he mentioned to me that growing up in Lawrence, he had to learn to fight because he was being picked on as a kid. And so that's one of the things that inspired him to box. He started in Taekwondo and then decided that he wanted to pick up boxing like his grandfathers.
Would love to meet the kid who picked a fight with Jadel Pazmino in the schoolyard, huh?
You always wonder whether he would pull up and say, do you want to try it now?
Maybe some 20 years later get some revenge on that schoolyard bully, right? But sometimes they say silence is the best revenge.
That's
Good
right.
body shot there by Pazmino. That one caught Gutierrez's attention. Halfway through round 3. As Gutierrez continuing to fight, gets tied up, and he sneaks in a couple of short uppercuts. Not enough to hurt Pazmino, but just to frustrate and annoy him.
He's finding the openings where he can get them.
Pazmino sneaking in. See, the thing is, too, with a fighter like Gutierrez, he's defending very well, but eventually that defense is going to crack at some point.
Yeah.
He can only keep those hands up for so long, and absorbing those shots on the elbows and forearms can sometimes be just as painful. It's just an accumulation of pain, and eventually those hands drop, and that's where Pazmino can strike.
You can see that Pazmino really is a big puncher.
Yes.
It's not just the seven knockouts in 7 fights. He punches hard.
Gutierrez slips. Pazmino kind of gave him a little shove on the way down. No harm, no foul. Final minute of round 3.
Pazmino having to do a little bit of defensive work, which is great for a fighter up and coming like this.
He's definitely had the chance here, no question, as we get to the end of round 3, to work on things he didn't get to do earlier.
Right.
And those 7 knockouts are great, but this is a fight where you learn a lot about yourself and your ability to deal with some adversity. And the adversity has really just been Gutierrez fighting back.
Right, and you may learn more in this fight than in all 7 previous fights.
I would think so too. Good overhand right there, just on top of the head of Gutierrez.
And Mike, one of the things I'm seeing is Pazmino, veteran move here. He's using his left hand to lower Gutierrez's guard and land the right hand.
Another good round for Pazmino. He's starting to pick things up a little bit there in that defense by Gutierrez that was mildly effective through 2 rounds. Starting to crack a little bit here, so this could be very interesting as we go into round 4. And it's hard to say what more do you want to see. We've really seen it all from Pazmino, but maybe here going into round 4, we start to pedal a little bit faster perhaps.
What I'm looking for Pazmino here is whether his conditioning is up to the task, and it looks like it is so far. He seems as sharp now as he did at the beginning of the fight.
You'll hear a lot of fighters say, I can go 8, I spar 12. I train for 14, I train for 16, I can go 10. But the reality is, those are different rounds in the gym than they are here. It's an opponent fighting back. I remember Orlando Valls, trainer in New England, once told me, and I watched the fighter, he looked good doing the mitt work. And I said, wow, that's good mitt work. Because, yeah, well, the mitts don't hit back. Right. That's a good point. The mitts don't hit back. And the rounds in the gym, while effective and working on your cardio, it's a different animal. And so we'll see, as you said, Mariano, where the conditioning lies. I'd be shocked if Pazmino has any conditioning issues, but we'd love to see if he kind of puts the pedal to the floor here in round 4. And it looks like so far he's coming on a little bit faster.
But as you mentioned, the intensity is different, the pace is different than in a gym fight.
Sure. Once again, Jadel Pazmino in the black trunks with the gold lettering. Giovanni Gutierrez in the brown with the gold trim, pointing out a rabbit punch to referee Melissa Kelly. So far, it's all Pazmino, if you're just joining us. Halfway through this 6-round fight. All 3 rounds clearly in favor of Pazmino as he backs up Gutierrez again with the right hand. Nice quick left. Oh, body blow there. That one caught Gutierrez. I think he thought it was a low blow. Referee not buying it.
You know, Mike, it looked to me like it was on the belt line. I don't think that was low. It looked like a very sharp shot.
And that's why officials during the pre-fight introductions establish where the belt line is to avoid this. But Pazmino picking it up a bit here too. Getting the crowd excited. Oh, again on that belt line.
Pazmino really digging his shots.
And you can hear it from where we're sitting ringside. You can hear it from the second deck, let's be honest. Pazmino smiling as he comes forward, starting to feel it.
I think he found something here with the left hand, left hook.
And Gutierrez is wearing down here. He's not throwing back as much as he was in the early rounds. Now it's more of the defensive mode, survival mode at this point.
You do wonder how much more he can take of this assault.
Nice uppercut there. Pazmino lands 5, 6, 7 punches. Gutierrez momentarily gets off the ropes. Pazmino shoves him into the ropes.
Great uppercut off the ropes here.
Final minute of round 4. And I think slowly but surely Pazmino's picking it up. Gutierrez doesn't have much left and down he goes.
Gutierrez now bleeding from his nose.
Yeah. Not looking pretty.
And Pazmino really showing us his arsenal, right? He's throwing a lot of different shots out there.
Still a lot of time here for Pazmino, 25 seconds or so. Gutierrez swinging wildly. Pazmino rocks him again. And down he goes for a second time. Melissa Kelly counting. Maybe wise to stay down at this point if you're Gutierrez, but he's going to pop right back up. He wants to keep going. Looks a little wobbly. I think Melissa Kelly's going to let him come forward, or at least give him the test. Yep.
Mike, Gutierrez has a lot of heart.
He sure does.
Without a
As
doubt.
the bell rings, he's still throwing shots.
And he's smiling.
He's smiling on his way back to the corner despite eating 2 knockdowns. So Pazmino really picking it up here. A great round for the young prospect. Take a look here at the replay action. Oh, that's that right hand. Yeah.
That was a devastating right hand. To the side of the head.
I believe this is the first knockdown. Another right hand, left hand to follow. And that one looked like it caught him in the body. It's hard to see from that angle, but you see the blood coming down from the nose of Gutierrez. He's in rough shape. There's no question about it, and we'll see. It looks like they're going to let him go for round 5 at his discretion. but it may not be a long. I would think at this point, Melissa Kelly is not going to give him much of a leash here going into round number 5 after absorbing so much damage over the final 40 seconds of round 4. But like you said, he's here to compete. He's got a lot of heart.
Absolutely. And you know, Mike, what started it all for Pazmino was a shot to the body, right? It was the body shot that made Gutierrez lower his hands, and that's where, Pazmino was able to tee off on him.
Round 5 underway. Jadel Pazmino certainly smells the blood in the water here as he just floored his opponent twice in round 4 and would certainly love to end things with a bang here in round 5. But Gutierrez is tough. We don't know how much he has left, but he's tough. He's going to keep competing. Big right hand. Pazmino just buying his time here in round 5. I like that
Pazmino
he's
really setting up the knockout.
Yeah, I like
right?
that he's not rushing.
Yes.
You know, he's coming in, he's poised. A lot of guys might come flying out of that corner.
Still defensively responsible, landing that jab and setting up shots to the body and the head.
Once again, Michael Parenti, Mariano Agmi bringing you the action here on Swerve Combat. We thank you for joining us tonight at Mill City Mayhem 2, presented by CES Boxing. And right now you're watching undefeated Jadel Pazmino in the black and gold trunks, or the black with the gold lettering, putting on a clinic here against Giovanni Gutierrez. But Gutierrez still hanging in there with just under 2 minutes to go in round 5.
Fighter's taking a little breather there. Well deserved after 5 tough rounds so far.
Yeah, I'll say Gutierrez just kind of burrowed his head into Pazmino's chest to get a break. Not the worst idea. You know,
No.
if you've had 26 pro fights, you know all the tricks.
He's a veteran. That's the one advantage he has here in this fight. And he's very tough.
And Pazmino has just about every other advantage, including the power, the youth, and the speed.
And
that left hand rocks him.
Beautiful left hook there.
And now Pazmino again coming forward.
And Melissa Kelly really taking a close look here.
Sure. And she was on top of the action in the Dugan-Farrar fight. It's giving Gutierrez an opportunity to compete, but maybe the beginning of the end. Another left-right combo by Pazmino.
Throwing an array of punches here.
Yes, he still swings back with 1 or 2, even admits that, and down he goes again, perhaps for the final
This might be
time.
it.
But he pops right back up, not even taking the standing 8 count. And he wants to keep going. It's the 4th knockdown of the fight. Not sure the point here of allowing this to continue.
He's probably too tough for his own good here.
That's also where the corner becomes part of the responsibility for them to stop it at some point, as Pazmino continues to tee off in the final 10 seconds and now just drives Gutierrez into the ropes and tosses them off.
Gutierrez wisely holds on.
Maybe some time for a tough conversation in the corner as Gutierrez goes down 2 more times. Mariano, take a look at the replay here. That left hand was what started it, staggered
Beautiful
Gutierrez.
left hook. Surprising that Gutierrez didn't go down from that. But of course the follow-up attack dropped him. And Michael, you love to see a tough guy, a guy like Gutierrez, but as you pointed out, you don't want him to be too tough for his own good where we end up with a bad night, right? So I think they really need to take their time, look at him, make sure he's okay and responsive before they send him out there for round 6.
And a lot of times the fighter will have this mentality too. If he can go the full 6,
Yeah.
can avoid a lengthy suspension. If I get knocked out, I get suspended 30 days max or minimum, maybe 45 days, which precludes you from fighting again real soon. And that's sometimes, listen, this is a business for these fighters. This is a financial opportunity to go out there and continue to fight on cards like this and be the gatekeeper type fighter. So Pazmino, or rather Gutierrez, of course, wants to go and go the distance, but he's going to get a quick check here from the ringside physician. Kind of asking, are you sure you want to go? Are you sure you want to do this? He says he's sure.
Unequivocally, right?
They're gonna, unequivocally, they're going to let him go. So beginning of round 6 here, 6th and final round. We'll see if Gutierrez can take Pazmino the full 6 or if Pazmino has more in store. He's knocked him down 4 times over the last 2 rounds, and Gutierrez is still there and still standing. That's the best we could say about him right now.
And Pazmino, again, walking him down behind a disciplined jab, trying to set up his right hand and hooks to the body.
Pazmino has done a masterful job in this fight. No surprise there. Gutierrez hanging in, also no surprise there. Good right hand by Pazmino. Still working the body, which I like to see too. It's not just going for the kill shot upstairs.
No, it's a disciplined approach.
Yeah.
You can tell that he's well schooled for sure. Julio Pena, his trainer, doing a really good job developing him.
2 minutes ago in the 6th and final round.
Another heavy shot to the head.
Pazmino almost wondering aloud why this guy is still in here. And you've sometimes seen fighters call for the ref like, hey, look, just end this fight. What are we doing here?
He may not win the fight, but
No.
if there's an award for valor, I think Gutierrez wins it tonight.
Absolutely will earn his opponent's respect. There's no question about that whatsoever. You'll see it at the end of the bell if it gets that far too. Final 90 seconds here. Pazmino just continues to unload and Gutierrez just continues to absorb and take it all. He's clearly going to lose this fight in one capacity or another.
And Pazmino really imposing his strength.
Yes.
Here, even in the clinch.
Another timeout, mouthpiece issue.
Another veteran move, right?
Yeah, I don't know if he spit that out or if that just quote-unquote accidentally fell out. But now Pazmino again unloading as the action resumes. Final minute of the fight, and he's still coming forward.
Pazmino trying his best to score the knockout. You can see he's intent on that. He didn't get the first round knockout, but he's really trying to get the knockout in the fight.
And you would think at this point, if Gutierrez goes down one more time, it's got to be stopped. I can't imagine they would let him, even if there's only 20 or so seconds. We saw Meldrick Taylor get stopped with 1 second. Nothing is out of the realm of possibility.
And really one punch can change things, so I agree. I don't think that if he gets dropped, he should continue this fight.
15 seconds to go. Just a race against the clock at this point for Gutierrez to survive 6. But he is taking some punishment here against Jadel Pazmino, who by all accounts is going to win every round of this fight and win convincingly on the scorecards. As the final bell sounds, good show of respect between the two. Great job by Jadel Pazmino.
It's a great showing. I'm not sure if Pazmino's going to be happy about not scoring the knockout, but he has nothing to be ashamed of here. He fought really well against a very tough opponent.
I think it's just a matter of preference and perspective from the official, from referee Melissa Kelly, and from the corner of the opponent. A lot of times, after 2 knockdowns, a corner might stop it. Sometimes those things can be out of your control. I think Pazmino did everything he could do, scoring 4 knockdowns. It's very hard to not get a knockout victory when you knock down your opponent 4 times. Usually after 3, they may wave it off or call a stop to it. Certainly after 4, we see it end. But in this case, they let him go, and Gutierrez goes 6 and goes the distance and does a fairly good job of hanging in there and giving Pazmino some much-needed rounds. So at the end of the day, like you said, Mariano, it's another victory, and it's a lesson learned going forward.
And I'm excited to see how Pazmino responds to this fight, going into this for the first time in his next fight.
And sometimes fights like this can alter what step you take next and what kind of opponent you seek out in your next fight. By no means do I think that Jadel Pazmino would try to take a step back. I think he's going to keep going forward and increase the level of competition with each fight. But he's got something to work on here, and he's got some things that he can now look at. You've got some actual fight film to study and analyze.
He had a savvy opponent in there who's been in there with a lot of fighters. I mean, he had more than 3 times as many fights as Pazmino, so good learning experience.
That was fight number 27, by the way, for Giovanni Gutierrez. And with that, let's send it up to Pat Sullivan, who has the particulars.
All right, fight fans, after 6 exciting rounds, we go to the scorecards. Judges Joe Lapisse and Steve Weisfeld scored about 60 to 51. And Mark Cardarelli scores about 60 to 50, all to your winner by unanimous decision. And still undefeated, J. Del Pazmino! All right, J. Del. I know you really wanted the knockout there. You had 3 knockdowns in the last couple rounds, but you fought a really tough kid who came here to fight. He took a lot of tough punches tonight. Is that what you expected?
I expected him to be durable, so that's what we saw. But he is so short. Like, I am not used to punching him so short. I was trying to get body shots. I was like, trying to get under there. I'm like digging, but it was a good fight.
Well, I can tell you that you showcased a lot of different skills here tonight. I know you wanted to go to another knockout, but a big decision victory here tonight. You really impressed this crowd here tonight. You could tell as the rounds went on, they saw more and more out of what Pazmino has to offer.
Thank you guys. We're going to keep working, go back to the lab. It's really my best training camp. Like, something way stronger. So, you know, stay looking. Let's keep working, baby.
You got a great team here with you. You got a great promoter with Jimmy Birdfield, and you have some unbelievable fans out here. I'll give you the opportunity to thank them for coming out.
Oh my God. Thank you to my family, my team, all my sponsors, people in Transco. Like, I can't do this without my team. Thank you for all the fans that came out. I love you guys. You know, keep watching, baby. Keep working. Let's go.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's still undefeated, J. Del Pazmino!
Once again, no surprise on the scorecards. Pazmino wins, and he wins convincingly to improve to 8-0. Bright future ahead for this young welterweight and a real gem of this recruiting class by CES Boxing and promoter Jimmy Birchfield. Sky's the limit for Pazmino. And listen, don't go anywhere. Our co-main event coming up next. Kevin Walsh, the King, taking on Angel Luna. Stay with us on Swerve Combat. Laurenti and Mariano Agami bringing you all the action here in Swerve Combat. We thank you for staying with us tonight. It's been an exciting fight card here. Mill City Mayhem 2, brought to you by CES Boxing. Here's the tail of the tape. Angel Luna making his way to the ring tonight as he takes on King Kevin Walsh. Luna making his 37th appearance as a pro at 35 years of age. Very tough customer, has had a very up and down career. If you look at his background, it's really the tale of almost multiple careers, Mariano, where he had a great streak early in his career. He fought some elite fighters in his weight class. Now has been much more of a well-traveled journeyman type fighter, but still somebody you just can't sleep on because you never know when he can dial it back and turn back the clock at any time.
And with these Dominican fighters, it's always they always give you a tough out. They're very slick, very crafty, very savvy, and I think that's what we're going to see tonight.
And his opponent, Kevin Walsh.
And here comes the King, Kevin Walsh, two-time champion of the WBC US Silver Belts. He owns the featherweight and the super featherweight title. 17-0 from Brockton, Massachusetts. We have talked about this amazing story so many times. Walsh, 32 years of age, got a late start in his career. Troubled as a youth, got in some trouble, came out, found boxing as the safe space, if you will, and something that turned his entire life around. Trained under the Capiello brothers in Brockton, and every time he fights, sometimes you think he may be biting off more than he can chew, but every time he succeeds, whether it's against Irvin Gonzalez, who was an Olympic qualifier, whether it's against Ricky De Los Santos, who was his equal, his peer as a New England fighter, or Tremaine Williams, the veteran who he took 10 rounds and won a split decision with at Foxwoods in May in his last fight. Kevin Walsh has passed every test, Mariano, and passed him with flying colors.
And those are three very different styles, and as you mentioned, he always rises to the occasion. I've been told that he's one of the hardest workers in the gym. It really does show, and it's starting to resonate with all these fans. You can hear it. They do come to support Kevin Walsh. Brockton's finest at the moment.
Absolutely. Let's send it up to our ring announcer, Pat Sullivan, with the official introduction.
This fight is scheduled for 8 rounds in the featherweight division. Fighting out of the blue corner, he weighed in at 128 pounds. His record, 19 wins, 16 losses, with 11 wins by way of knockout. Hailing from Bronx, New York, Angel El Gato Luna. And his opponent, fighting out of the red corner. He weighed in at 122 pounds. His record, perfect, 17 wins, no losses, with 9 big wins coming by way of knockout. He is a 2-division WBC U.S. Silver Champion and the U.S. New England Champion. Hailing from the City of Champions, Brockton, Massachusetts, ladies and gentlemen, King Kevin Walsh!
Referee Johnny Callis with the last-minute instructions. This bout is scheduled for 8 rounds in the featherweight division. It's only the second time that Walsh has actually fought at featherweight. He went down to 26 to fight Ricky Del Santos for the U.S. silver title, and then moved back up to 130 to take on Tremaine Williams for the super featherweight belt, and now back down to 127 on the scales yesterday as he lands a quick left right out the gate against Angel Luna, and Walsh has got him in trouble. And down goes Luna from a big left hand by Walsh. Walsh almost giving him an extra second, not getting to his neutral corner. Man, he came out with a flurry, Mariano.
You know, Mike, I think Kevin is here to make a statement. He had a very competitive fight against Tremaine Williams in his last time out. He knows that a lot of people said that he maybe didn't win that fight. He's here to make a statement against Angel Luna.
And I was about to say, you can't sleep on Angel Luna. He's won 3 of his last 5. He's a dangerous veteran fighter. This could be a trap fight in some cases, but he comes right out of the gate, flattens Luna with the left hand, and is now in complete control of the fight and has all the momentum on his side. And doing what he does best is just put on a show.
And one thing about Kevin is he's got some deceptive power. I feel like he doesn't get a lot of respect sometimes around with other fighters in New England, but that hate is turning into respect fight by fight.
He has had some rivals in the past, and some who he has actually never fought. But every time he goes in there, he answers the bell as Luna goes down a second time from a body shot.
And Mike, I think this is over.
He is wobbly as he gets up, and that's going to do it. King Kevin Walsh makes his statement here in Lowell, Massachusetts. Absolute sensational finish for Kevin Walsh. Wasted no time taking out the veteran. Here's a look at the replay of how this one ended. There's a body shot, then a double hook. Second one landed upstairs. Luna just had absolutely no answer for Kevin Walsh from the opening bell.
Mike, Kevin Walsh showed that Luna didn't belong in the same ring with him. And it's not something you would see on paper, but he definitely showed it when it came to the actual fight.
As we mentioned, this was Luna's 37th pro fight. This is a fighter who started his career 12-0, fought Tevin Farmer, who ended up being a world champion and going the distance with Farmer. Luna is not a guy that gets wiped out that easily, but Walsh came here tonight and just did the job. And again, it just doesn't matter who you put in front of Kevin Walsh. He is just making his way. He is carving his path through New England. And we mentioned he has wanted to take that next step. We talked about where do you go after you dominate New England? You go to the global level. He has called out fighters like Angelo Leo, the IBF featherweight champion. He wants that opportunity, and if he continues at this pace, it's going to come.
You know, Mike, I think Kevin Walsh is one of the most exciting fighters out of New England, period. And he's quickly becoming a fighter to watch. He's been telling me that one of the fighters he wants to challenge is featherweight champion Nick Ball from England.
There's another one.
I think that would be a barn burner.
Well, I tell you, the sky's the limit for Walsh. Here's a fighter who, again, had a late start in his career. At 32, he has more than made up for the lost time. Let's send it up to Pat Sullivan, who has the particulars.
Ladies and gentlemen, referee Johnny Callis calls a stop to the fight at 1 minute, 20 seconds of round number 1. For your winner by TKO, and still undefeated, King Kevin Walsh.
So there it is, another big victory for King Kevin Walsh as he improves to 18-0. Knockout number 10. Let's send it back to Pat Sullivan, who has our winner.
All right, Lowell, I'm here with your winner, King Kevin Walsh. Kev, I know it doesn't get old here and it's still undefeated, but I know you work harder than just about anybody in this sport, and I know every time you hear it, it means a lot.
Yeah, man, it feels good. It feels amazing. I want to give a big shout out to everybody that came out to support all the fighters. You guys did good news tonight. Thank you guys for coming out to support us. Shout out to Jimmy Verse here at the CES. You guys put on great shows. Thank you.
No, Kevin, it doesn't matter where you fight in Massachusetts, you fight in Connecticut, you fight anywhere in this country, and you have the most loyal fan base of any fighter I've seen. I'll give you an opportunity right now to thank them all.
Yeah, man, doesn't matter where it's at, doesn't matter who it is. Get in front of me, you're going down.
It doesn't matter who it is. So you trying to sign that contract? November 1st?
Let's go, baby, let's go.
126?
Let's go, yeah. You know, make it wait.
Yeah, of course.
Let's
So
go.
you want to do it?
Let's go.
All right, let's do it then. Let's go, baby. Let me see that. So y'all here? So y'all.
Why do we want to fight you?
It don't matter. Let's go.
He already beat you.
I beat you.
He beat you, buddy.
You
lost. You lost. It's over. Go back to the drawing board. It's over, brother. You tried to cheat us. Nah, bro. Why do we want to waste our time with
This is Kevin Walsh's moment. A big win tonight, Kevin. Congratulations. Still undefeated. I'm going to let you enjoy this win here tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, your winner by first round TKO, Kevin Walsh.
Well, Tremaine Williams, who just lost to Kevin Walsh in May at Foxwoods Casino, crashing the after party here in the ring, almost WWE style. Expected to hear entrance music on his way out, but Williams sneaking up, asking for his rematch. And you have manager Rich Capiello saying, we don't want to fight you again, we already beat you. So who knows, maybe something brewing down the road. But as it goes with mention that it feels like every time Kevin Walsh gets in there, there's someone who doesn't have the same level of respect. You see Tremaine Williams come in there, wants a rematch, wants another opportunity after getting beat at Foxwoods in what was a very close fight. Who knows? Maybe we see it again down the line. But one thing we do know is Kevin Walsh certainly has no shortage of suitors potentially down the road. Sky's the limit, as we said. He's now 18-0. Another very impressive win tonight.
Without a doubt. And, you know, while Kevin Walsh could give Tremaine Williams a rematch, that was a very competitive fight. He's got bigger fish to go after at this point in his career. You know, the Mighty Midget had his time. I feel like Kevin Walsh is going to start looking at more global ambitions.
I think the torch has been passed in New England, whether it's 126 or 130. Walsh has dominated them all. He did it again here tonight. Main event coming up next. Mike Fontanez headlining against Esnikia Korea. Don't go anywhere. We're going to bring you all the action when we come back on Swerve Combat.
All right, fight fans, it's time for your main event of the evening. Let's welcome the first fighter to the ring, Esnikia Korea.
Coming in from Miami, Florida by way of Venezuela is Esnikia Korea. The combatant in this main event comes in with a record of 16-6-1. 14 of those wins coming by knockout, so you know that there is punch and power behind those gloves. Just 26 years of age, strong right-hander. We last saw him in June against Francis Hogan right here at the Lowell Memorial Auditorium, who went 3 hard rounds before Francis Hogan got the stoppage in round 4. So this is a very good test for Mike Fontanez in the main event. Only Korea's 4th appearance on U.S. soil and his 2nd appearance in Massachusetts. So he's well-traveled, fought mostly in his homeland, but coming inside to try to make the challenge.
Fontanez.
And here is the man of many nicknames. We've got Salsa Mike, the Blessed Southpaw, whatever you want to call him. He's undefeated Mike Fontanez, coming all the way from Nashua, New Hampshire, 29 years of age. He's 12-0. He's making that climb. We mentioned the link to Team Combat League, a member of the Boston Butchers. Jimmy Birchfield, the promoter, loved what he saw. He signed Fontanez, and now this is his 4th fight with the promotion. He already got win number 10. He's in the double digits and trying to just continue that climb, Mariano, to possibly get you someplace big by the end of 2025.
And Mike, you mentioned the TCL and the Boston Butchers, and as you're going to see here, we produced fighters that signed with
Yes.
Jimmy Birchfield, who's the general manager of the Butchers. But you got Rashidi Ellis, who's
Yes.
walking Fontanez down. You got fighters like Amelia Moore, who's ready for a world title shot probably in the next year. A lot of great fighters that came out of the Boston Butchers.
It's helped CES rekindle its fire in New England and reestablish its roster and its depth. They brought some great talent here tonight. This one should be entertaining. We're going to send it back up to Pat Sullivan as we get ready for our national anthem in our main event.
Ladies and gentlemen, before the introduction of the fighters, we ask you all please rise and remove your hats for the playing of our national anthem by Eddie B. Thank you, Eddie B. All right, fight fans, it's time for your main event of the evening. 8 rounds in the super middleweight division. Brought to you by Jimmy Birchfield, Classic Entertainment and Sports. Fighting out of the blue corner, he weighed in at 153 pounds. He comes in with a big professional record of 16 wins, 6 losses, with 14 big wins coming by way of knockout. Hailing from Miami, Florida, a sneaker, the Wonder Correa. And his opponent fighting out of the red corner. He weighed in at 156 pounds. His record, perfect. 12 wins, no losses, with 8 big wins coming by way of knockout. Hailing from Nashua, New Hampshire. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mike, the Blessed Southpaw Fontanez!
Here we go. Time for our main event. Scheduled for 8 rounds in the middleweight division. Mike Fontanez in the white trunks taking on Esnikia Correa in the black and the pink.
And Mike, how about that? How about Eddie, the sax player?
Eddie B, again doing a tremendous job with his rendition of the national anthem on the saxophone. Super talented young artist. Really adds a big fight feel to everything every time he comes to CES. Does an awesome, awesome job. It gets us set up for our main event.
Always makes a couple of little tweaks.
He does.
Yeah.
He adds a little something new
Little
each
spice.
time, right? It's
Yeah.
not the same performance each time. That's what I like. Fontanez trying to go to 13-0, taking on Correa. And interestingly enough, Correa has big punching numbers, 16 wins, 14 of them by knockout. But ironically, a lot of that came at a lighter weight. He started his career between 135, 147, where most of those knockouts came, albeit against a lighter level of competition back home. But you don't see a lot of power like that from 130, 135, even 140. So the power is definitely there. He's now fighting at a much higher weight. Both fighters coming in at the junior middleweight rather than middleweight limit at 54. So there's some sneaky power there. We've seen this, Mariano, in the past with some of these international fighters that come over. There's very little tape on their background. There's very little footage to watch, and you never know what you're going to get. Do you get a guy that's got some real legit punching power and ability, or is it someone who's more of a journeyman type? We've seen some guys score some upset victories on U.S. soil in New England that have big records like this. So Korea's not a guy you can sleep on.
Absolutely not. And Francis Hogan learned that in his last fight. Korea did buzz him in the second round of that fight.
That's right.
So definitely some power. The power is real, and it carried up to the middleweight division. And the other thing about Korea is that he's been active, right? He fought in that last card. Both fighters here fought on that card. So they've both been active. I'm looking forward to seeing a high-quality matchup here.
No, you're right. Fontanez fought also June 21st here in Lowell against Noah Kidd, scored the win by fourth-round knockout. Korea also here in June in Lowell against Francis Hogan, and as you mentioned, gave Hogan some trouble early in that fight. So Fontanez has the benefit of having seen a little more from Korea, where Hogan didn't really have that advantage and had to learn kind of on the fly. Fontanez very elusive early on, trying to pick his spots against Korea.
Fontanez mentioned to me during our fighter interview that he's been sparring with heavyweights to prepare for this in anticipation of the power that his sneaker Korea may have.
That's a very good strategy. That will definitely get you prepped for what you might face against someone who has noted as a big puncher. And we'll see if Korea gets an opportunity to land a big right hand or two, which has been his signature style. Again, much earlier in his career. He hasn't had as much success on U.S. soil as he did back home, but again, stays active, stays ready, and here he is for another opportunity in Lowell.
And I think for a lot of these international fighters, especially from South America, coming to the U.S., it's almost like entering the big leagues. And so you may not get the same results. And oftentimes, they're fighting a little bit higher.
Well, Korea with a little flurry at the end, almost landed on Melissa Kelly. My goodness. Certainly not intentional, as he was trying to land right before the bell. Melissa Kelly showing some elusiveness in there. She might want to throw some gloves on and get in the ring. Here's some replay action here from round one. Fontanez really picking his spots, patient, knows he has 8 rounds.
And that last sequence was interesting. I'm not sure if he landed or not, but, Fontanez had his back against the ropes. It would be interesting to see whether he buzzed him at all.
That's what you have to watch out for. You mentioned that Francis Hogan got caught, and sometimes you get lulled into that false sense of security. The opponent's not throwing much early, and you maybe think that this is going to be the pace for 8 rounds. That's not the pace. Korea at any time could unload and land. And again, maybe it's not a knockout punch, but it's something that grazes you, and it kind of sends you on a little bit of a spiral. So you just have to watch out and be cautious of that. And Fontanez, he likes to box, he likes to kind of establish his pace early. And again, it's a difference between you fight a 6-round fight, you might come out a little bit faster. Certainly in a 4-round fight, you come out quickly. But in 8 rounds, you can get your footing a little bit and see what the opponent brings to the table before you really start to execute A, B, and C of your game plan.
Mike looking very patient early on.
Again, this is round number 2, scheduled for 8. Mike Fontanez in the white and gold trunks, as Sneaker Korea in the black and pink. And Michael Parenti and Mariano Agmi bringing to the action as Korea dives in, almost bounces off the ropes back in the middle of the ring.
Both fighters landing to the belly.
Nice exchange from both sides here early in round 2. Fontanez always looks calm and cool in the ring. We haven't seen him really under much duress in his fights with CES.
And he was very impressive a few fights ago against Ray Oliveira Jr. Broke him down over 6 rounds, I believe, before stopping him.
I agree. I think that was his most complete performance against a fighter who has had some big wins in his career, as Oliveira Jr. had. And he really, like you said, took his time there, broke him down toward the end, and it got to a point where Oliveira had just been too battered to continue. And it was a real sustained beating by Fontanez. Not just 1 or 2 punches, but just, like you said, just wearing him down and just pouring on the pressure. And that's something he does very well. And it shows, again, poise. He's 29. He's not a young fighter, so he has that experience going back to amateurs and now at 12 pro fights where he's really established a style, and it's a style that works for him.
Definitely. And with Korea, what he has is a guy who is explosive that's in front of him, who, like many South American fighters, they're not as technical. And so a punch may come from a weird angle. You might get hit with it, and that's how Korea could win the fight.
These are good building blocks for a fighter like Fontanez, but of course it can be dangerous, as you said. What some people consider a tune-up or maybe a mild step-up in competition can go awry quickly with just 1 punch, and that's what Fontanez, of course, is going to be cautious of.
What Fontanez strikes me as is a more cerebral fighter, right? You can see that he's very patient. He's trying to see what Korea is going to do, how he reacts to his feints. And, of course, he's going to try to set him up later on.
And as we go into the final 30 seconds of this round, it's worth mentioning too, Mariano, that it's a very delicate balance between, like you said, setting a pace and winning the round.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just don't do enough, and you may actually give a round away. But Fontanez, as you see here, makes sure to stay plenty active in between. Final 10 seconds. And there is the bell. 2 rounds in the book. So far, good pace for Fontanez. Looks to be in control. And at some point, you may see when that confidence continues to build, where he may, again, put the pedal to the floor a little bit and try to pick up the pace.
And, Mike, speaking of cerebral, Mike Fontanez mentioned to me a while back that the way he got into boxing, one of the last things he did is he was in college. He was pitching, left-handed pitcher. He got into a fight with his catcher, a physical fight. And he decided at the end of the day to walk away from the mound and pick up some boxing gloves.
Never know where that source of motivation will come from. He was probably a pretty good pitcher, too. You think about a 6-foot southpaw, right?
For sure.
Those are hard to come by. Sometimes in baseball, as a southpaw, you may not have the most talent, but if you can throw out that left hand, you can pitch until you're 42, 43 years old, make a nice little nest egg and retire. But Fontanez has chosen a harder route. Certainly going to take some more damage as a pro boxer than a pro baseball player, but nonetheless, I think he's found his lane and certainly found a place where he belongs as we get into round number 3 here. We want to thank you all again for watching us tonight on Swerve Combat. If you've been sticking with us from the beginning, you've been witness to a tremendous card here at Mill City Mayhem number 2. Michael Parenti, Mariano Agami bringing you all the action. And we are now in round 3 of a scheduled 8 rounds in our main event. Mike Fontanez in the white and gold, as Sneaker Korea in the black and pink. Fontanez trying to get win number 13 against 0 losses. He starts to work that jab here in round 3, Mariano.
Absolutely, Mike. And what I like about him is he is switching between the body and the head. And you can see here that he's looking to land that left hand, which he just did.
And so far, he's handled that explosiveness.
Big right hand from Sneaker Korea.
Just as we mentioned, I was about to say he's handled it well, but he took a right hand there. Seems like it didn't throw him off too much. But you got to watch out for Korea. And like you said, too, it comes from weird angles sometimes.
Yeah, it can catch you off guard. It can surprise you, for sure.
One thing you have to do if you're Fontanez, and I think he's done that, is respect the power while trying to establish your own pace and game plan.
And you can see that he wasn't hurt from those shots. He's still moving forward, still applying pressure.
Good overhand left by Fontanez. Korea calling him on. He wants more.
Nice shot to the body there.
Korea going downstairs and trying to come back upstairs with the knockout blow, but Fontanez pretty elusive so far. He's only taken a couple of shots that would be considered damaging, but he's walked through them and he's continuing, like you said, to come forward. Now these two are just taunting each other.
It's a lot of posing now, yeah.
Nice little jab there by Fontanez. Korea trying to go back to the body. Got a little game of chicken developing here in round 3.
Korea switching stances now.
Setting up a little southpaw versus southpaw action here at the end of round 3. Fontanez won't switch much. You won't see that much from him. He's a southpaw, and that's his game.
That's right.
Which I think sometimes is good. Sometimes fighters switch up, and it's actually detrimental to their approach.
Many times they get caught in between as they're switching.
Final 10 seconds of round 3. Solid action in this round, and both fighters getting a little comfortable now and enjoying at each other a little bit here. Good sportsmanship show at the end of that round, but now as you get into this is really the midway point as we see some of the replay action here, and this is where we expect some things to start opening up.
Mike did some good work in that round. He did get caught a few times early on, and then he turned the tide a little bit.
See head trainer Alex Rivera in Fontanez's corner. Rivera been around for a long time. He and his brother Andy Rivera, out of the Rivera Brothers Boxing Gym. They've trained many great New England fighters. Kevin Cobbs comes to mind, Rashidi Ellis among others. And I've brought those guys really to the brink of something big. And Rashidi Ellis is another one who you will see again really soon. Also coming from that TCL connection, as you mentioned.
That's right. And they've proven that they can develop world-class fighters, for sure.
And you just can't say enough about that TCL connection and how that's really replenished the CES roster. Some of those older stars, like a Peter Manfredo, Jamie Hurricane Clampett, who've reached the end of their respective careers, at some point a promotion has to bring in some young blood, and that's what CS has done. Now these guys aren't, certainly in their early 20s, but they're young in the sense where they're still a novice in the game, and they have some road ahead of them and some miles ahead of them. But CS did a great job of really reestablishing its dominance in New England boxing as the premier promoter, no question about that. And they've got the best talent from top to bottom. There is no doubt whatsoever. And you see it every time we come here on Swerve Combat. And you're seeing here tonight with one of the crown jewels here of that new class, Mike Fontanez.
I agree. And that TCL, the group of fighters that came from the TCL fit in very nicely with guys like Alejandro Paulino, who's on the brink also of a sort of world contention.
CS utilized a lot of its current stars with TCL while bringing in some newer stars and even some veteran stars that they had not worked with in the past, and that's where that connection was made. And one thing about promoter Jimmy Birchfield, the CEO and president of CS, is that fighters are family to him, and he treats his fighters like they're his own children, and it's something that really attracts fighters to the brand. You don't get that kind of care and attention in other promotions, and that's really the CES difference of what sets them apart, and that's why they're able to recruit and keep and develop so much great talent.
For now 30 years, Jimmy Birchfield is the type of promoter that does what he says he's going to do.
Absolutely.
He means what he says, and then he'll follow through with it.
Midway through round number 4 here. Again, scheduled for 8. Mike Fontanez in the white and gold, taking on S. Sneaker Korea in the black and pink. I haven't seen too many major explosions yet in this fight, but we could be getting there eventually.
You're right. It's more of a chess match. They're not clinching, but it's definitely a chess match in there. Fontanez looking to engage, and Korea is definitely willing to.
I think if anything, Mariano, Korea wants to be more of the counterpuncher where he could catch Fontanez sleeping with that big knockout power, and that's really the bread and butter there. He's not the kind of fighter that's going to come to foreign country on U.S. soil in a fighter's backyard and win rounds.
Right.
He's looking to end it at some point, and that's where you really have to watch out for. And as the fight wears on, he's going to become more desperate, and that's where he's going to unload at some point. So you just have to kind of keep that guard up as Fontanez is doing here and remain cautious, but not temper your own aggressiveness, and that's really the key there.
And a cut just opened on the left eye of Mike Fontanez. I'm not sure if it was a punch or a headbutt.
Very interesting development to keep an eye on here. You see the corner applying the ice, trying to stop that bleeding. And we'll take a look here as we get into round 5 what that looks like. It looked like from the onset that the blood may be dripping and draining away from the eye, which is always the good thing. You don't want to certainly have a cut open, but the last thing you want is for the blood going into the eye and becoming a problem and becoming a distraction.
And I believe this is a first for Fontanez, right? It's some adversity he's going to have to overcome for this fight.
We haven't seen him face too much of it in his brief time with CES. He's had some fairly convincing, not easy, but convincing victories. And tonight is a challenge. It's the main event fight. He's headlining. There's pressure that comes with being the headliner as well, as you see Alex Rivera working on that cut. And there's also the pressure of facing a fighter with 14 wins by knockout. And that is something to obviously keep in the back of your mind moving forward as we begin round number 5. And we'll see. We'll keep an eye on that cut. It's hard to see from this angle, but they've done a good job so far of sealing it.
Yep. And we'll see how that changes the trajectory of the fight.
Sometimes it makes the opponent a little bit more aggressive, the target, but you see the blood again dripping. Looks like it's just dripping down the side of the eye. Looks like it's staying out of Fontanez's eye. It's certainly not ideal, but it's less of a distraction that way.
Absolutely.
Nice body work there by Correa. It looks like it's on the side of the eyebrow from this angle.
Yeah, I don't think it's really interfering with his ability to see, which would be hugely critical, right, if he had a problem there.
Looks like, if anything, and of course it's easy for us to say because we're not the ones cut and bleeding, but it looks like it's more of an annoyance than anything else.
Yes.
And we'll see if it affects Fontanez. It's like you said, it's the first time that he's had to deal with this since signing with CES, and sometimes you want to see how a fighter responds to that.
And as a fighter, you don't know how bad it is. You can't see it. So many times it affects how they react and how they fight. One thing's for sure, Cinco Correa came to fight tonight and test Fontanez.
And this is similar to what he did against Francis Hogan.
Yep.
Gave Hogan everything he could handle. And now a nice exchange by the two in the center of the ring.
Hogan, who's actually here tonight.
No doubt probably gave Fontanez some tips and some pointers in the dressing room before this fight of what to look out for.
Oh, yeah, they're Boston Butcher's teammates.
Yeah.
One of the things that the TCL and Boston Butchers did for these fighters is they created a great camaraderie between them.
Boy, that blood really starting to pour now.
Yeah.
The entire left side of Fontanez's face is covered in blood.
You can see that Correa wants to land that right hand and do some more damage. There it is.
It's obviously an area for Correa to target and something for Fontanez that's possibly becoming a distraction. It's too early to say, but it doesn't seem like he has that same zest in this round as he had in round number 4. So you wonder if there is some distraction, but he lands a nice left hand there.
Left hand by Fontanez, right?
There's Correa now coming forward. So Correa's not going to back down. We've already established that much, and now he's more than halfway through this fight. As we start to get a little bit closer into those deep water rounds, if you will. And there's the bell for round 5. Correa giving a little gesture to Fontanez on his way back to the ring. This one's getting a little heated.
We have a fight in our hands for sure.
We've got a fight, no question about that. And you see the ringside physicians on the apron checking out that cut. They haven't had an opportunity, or they haven't called to look for it, but there is actually the official ringside doctor now kind of hovering over the Fontanez corner to check things out. And this is where you need a great cut man. This is where this comes into play. We've seen many a fight end because of something like this, or momentum change in a fight because of a cut where the corner cannot seal it properly, and it just continues to be a problem. And it certainly opened up early again in round number 5. And here we are. So with that being said, Correa, he looks fresh. He's on his feet. He's not even on the stool in between rounds. Yeah, he's anxious to get going here. I think he feels a little something here where he could have a possible shift in the momentum. I didn't think that was Fontanez's best round. I think that was Correa's best round of the fight. Not sure what that may mean on the scorecards long term or overall, but in any event, Correa's got a shot here and an opportunity, and he's now going into the 6th round of this scheduled 8-round main event. Just keep an eye on that cut. So far, it's sealed. Doesn't take much to bust it back open. We'll see how quickly it happens.
Korea showboating. You can see that he feels really confident in how this fight is turning out.
Good flurry there by Korea. I think he's happy so far with his performance. He's hung in. He's won at least one round, maybe round two, maybe 2 rounds somewhere. But has not looked overwhelmed by any stretch of the imagination as he lands a good right hand there against Fontanez. And there goes the cut again. And there is the blood now, again, trickling down the left side of Fontanez's face. And this is one of those things, Mariano, where if you get through the fight and you're victorious, you may be happy for this in the long term, to face something like this.
Before you get to that championship level, you want to go through some adversity for sure. And Fontanez is showing here that he's not cowering. You know, he's bleeding. He knows that, you know, the cut is still there, but he's not cowering. He's moving forward. He's trying to figure out Korea. He's trying to set up some traps. He's a real fighter.
Korea, to his credit, has been throwing a lot of punches. We don't necessarily know how many are landing or landing cleanly, but he's operating with volume as now Fontanez lands a good shot.
Great left counter there.
1 minute to go in round number 6. Once again, Michael Parenti and Mariano Agami bringing you the action. In our main event of Mill City Mayhem 2, Mike Fontanez bleeding profusely from the left side. It's been a problem for 2 rounds, but he continues to move forward and continues to fight. Good left hand by Fontanez. Now Korea comes back with 2-3 shots of his own. And there is the bell for round number 6. So as Sneaker Korea continues to give Fontanez everything he can handle, and it'd be very interesting to see how some of these last couple of rounds will be scored. I don't know if Fontanez has been active enough to necessarily win any of these rounds convincingly, if he's won them at all. And the scorecards could look very interesting if it does in fact go 8. You're through 6 right now. This could be a 4-2 fight.
Yes.
Could be even for all we know on the cards. I think Korea's had a better showing in the last couple of rounds than he did earlier in the fight. And now you start to wonder as the ringside physicians continue to look at that cut on the left side of Mike Fontanez's eye. You start to wonder where the scorecards lie. Did Fontanez do enough in the early rounds here as he's starting to slow a bit in the later rounds? But we still have 2 more to go, so there's a lot of time left and an opportunity for Fontanez to reestablish the dominance in the pace that he had in the first couple of rounds.
Absolutely, and you can see that Korea tries to respond to everything Fontanez does with 2 or 3 shots.
Here is round number 7 just getting underway here at Mill City Mayhem 2 from the historic Lowell Memorial Auditorium in Massachusetts. Hometown favorite Mike Fontanez trying to keep his perfect record intact. He's had a bad cut over the left eye that's been problematic for the last 2 rounds, but continues to come forward.
Sweeping left hand just landed for Fontanez. Good counter right hook.
Much better start to the round for Fontanez than in the previous 2 rounds as he's trying to reestablish that pace that worked for him in the beginning of the fight. The cut not looking as big a factor here in round 7, and you wonder if the corner's done a better job of sustaining or stopping it, or if it's just a fact of Fontanez not letting Korea land in that area.
Right.
Korea slipped down to the canvas, but no knockdown obviously scored there. 90 seconds to go in round 7.
And Fontanez doing a great job of landing short, quick shots in this round.
Looking much better in this round than in the previous 2. Trying to get that confidence and swagger back that he had earlier in the fight.
Yeah, he's reasserting himself well. But Korea came to fight, and he doesn't seem to be tiring.
Good 3-punch combo. One of them snuck through the middle there, and as you mentioned, Korea just keeps coming forward, keeps throwing punches.
You know, this started as a chess match, and now it's a bit more like a battle of attrition between the two of them.
More of a slugfest than it was earlier.
Yep.
That often comes with the comfort of knowing what your opponent brings to the table and figuring out styles and patterns. Well, the cut definitely opening back up now in the final 30 seconds here. That same spot, that same gushing blood down the left side of the face.
Yeah. Seems like every time he gets hit, it just starts pouring down.
We mentioned the benefit of having a good cut man, but sometimes there's only so much the cut man can do. And in a case like this, all they can really do, Mariano, is just plug the gap for maybe a minute and a half before it just erupts again. But better round for Fontanez here in round 7 as we get ready for the 8th and final round. And I'll tell you what, I don't know how to call it right now. I think Fontanez has the slight edge on the cards. I don't think it's much. I think the fight is closer than it may appear in the end. Korea's been hanging in there and just stealing some moments here and there.
I agree. The question is whether those moments are bigger than what Mike has been doing throughout the rounds, right? Seems like Mike wins a lot of the portions of the round, and then Korea lands some good shots.
So we're just about ready for round number 8. The Fontanez corner working feverishly. It's like a NASCAR pit crew trying to stop that cut, to stop the bleeding. And it surely does take a team, but they've done a pretty good job there of limiting the damage as best they can. And here we go. As Sneaker Korea in the pink and black trunks, Mike Fontanez in the white and gold. Great show of sportsmanship before that bell rings. And here we go. Final 3 minutes of the fight. Still up for grabs. It's our main event of Mill City Mayhem 2.
And both fighters fighting as if the fight is on the line, right? Just as we mentioned.
Now, we've talked about that in the past. If you're the corner, what do you tell your fighter? You don't necessarily want to say, you're fine, you're good, just get out of the way. You may not be good.
Right.
You always want to encourage, I think, your fighter to come forward with that same level of aggressiveness, but to be careful with it, which is the key. And I think I agree with you. I think both fighters may not really know where the cards are, so they got to come out and try to get this last round, assuming they need it. Only time will tell if we do get to that final bell how the judges see it. But so far, so good here. As Fontanez coming forward, cut again, busted open. But he's not going to quit. It's going to take more than that to stop Mike Fontanez. We know that much.
Korea really letting his hands out.
For every one punch Fontanez throws, Korea throws 4 or 5. They don't all land, but sometimes that's enough for judges. You never really know what preference or what style they prefer.
That's right.
You never assume that the flurries don't count in the scorebook, or at least in their mind. There it is again, Korea 3, 4, or 5 at a time. Fontanez trying to stalk him down, but Korea, he comes forward. He throws 3 or 4 punches. And if anything, it's enough to stop whatever offensive game plan that Fontanez wants to execute. It's hard to do when you got your hands up all the time. Fontanez trying to go to the body. Final minute of the 8th and final round of our main event.
This has become a battle of wills here, and you can see Fontanez trying to land his own big shots.
Sometimes those 1 or 2 big shots are enough to win a round.
Oh, yeah.
And sometimes that one round could be enough to win a fight.
You can see Mike's work is neater here, where he is landing some good shots, some good jabs, left hands, and then Correa throws wild punches.
Fontanez's pace really hasn't changed too much in this fight.
No.
He has a slow, steady pace. It's worked for him in the past. It's worked through 12 fights. But again, Correa throwing more of a bevy of punches. He's a higher volume puncher. And how that plays out just depends on the judges. And there's the final bell. 8 rounds in the books. Correa feels great. He hops up onto the turnbuckle, gestures to the crowd. Mike Fontanez does the same. That cut was a problem over the last 4 rounds. I think it was a little bit of a distraction. I'm not sure if it makes a difference ultimately in the end, but a very good fight between these two. It's going to be very, very interesting to see what's on the scorecards. I'm not sure which way I have it. I think it was a very close fight. And while at the end of the day, you could have a scorecard, Mariano, that says 6 rounds to 2, but all those rounds are super close.
That's right.
It's not always indicative of how close the fight actually is. So I'm very curious to see how this one goes. But will Mike Fontanez get win number 13? Will Sneaker Correa come in and steal it and spoil the party? We're about to find out shortly, but a very interesting fight. A lot of ebbs and flows, too, where we felt that each fighter kind of had his share of the momentum in his favor.
That's right. I thought Fontanez did a really good job in the first few rounds, winning those rounds. The fight changed a bit when the cut opened up, and then from there it became more of a fight than a boxing match.
So our main event in the books, we're about to get the particulars and find out how this one actually went in the end. But a very spirited back and forth battle between Sneaker Correa. Came in here all the way from Venezuela, living and training now in Miami. Mike Fontanez, the hometown fighter from Nashua, New Hampshire. And we'll see if he gets win number 13. Let's send it up to Pat Sullivan, the man that we have all been waiting for, who has the official decision.
Bell? Do I do the bell? All right, fight fans, after 8 exciting rounds, we go to the scorecards. Judge Joe Appice scores about 77 to 75 for Fontanez. Judge Steve Weisfeld and Mark Cardarelli scored about 76 to 76. This fight is a majority draw.
Prize, you and I both sat here and said, I don't know which way this fight will go. And in the end, it doesn't go either way. It goes right down the middle. Steve Weisfeld and Judge Cardarelli scoring at 76-76 apiece. And I think that's a good decision. I think this fight was very, very close. I don't think either fighter did enough to really swing it in his favor. And so perhaps an opportunity to run it back there. So Mariano, as we take a look at this now, and Joe Appice, by the way, did have it 77-75 Fontanez. So it's really a case of one round being scored differently in somebody's eyes and somebody's perspective. What did Fontanez not do enough of? In my opinion, I just don't think he threw enough punches.
I think that was the big difference here. Like he won the earlier rounds behind an educated jab and the left hand. From there, Sneaker Correa, more explosive fighter, more voluminous fighter, right? He started landing a lot of shots, opened up that cut, and I feel like that changed the fight. Then the fighters started engaging, and sometimes Fontanez got the better of it, sometimes Correa did.
And one thing you always want to see, too, is the breakdown of the rounds and how they were scored. Not just the actual score, but who won which rounds and how each judge saw it. Because you and I both thought Fontanez, I thought looked good through the first 3 rounds.
Absolutely.
I thought he looked sharp. He had his pace established. When that cut settled in, I think things changed a little bit. I think the cut and seeing the blood made Correa a little bit more aggressive, and he started throwing more punches and lumping his shots together, 3-4 punches at a time. And again, they don't all have to land. It's the volume that makes a difference in the end. And I think that's what worked out for Correa to get the draw. A lot of times they will say if you come on the road to get a draw, it almost is as good as a win.
Absolutely.
In any case, for Fontanez, there's something to work on there. And perhaps it's maybe putting that foot to the floor a little bit sooner in an 8-round fight, and perhaps fighting that 8-round fight maybe lulled them to that false sense of security after 3 or 4 rounds. But in any event, it's a majority draw. Fontanez now 12-0-1, as Sneaker Korea now 16-6-2, coming in here and getting the draw against Mike Fontanez. An exciting night of action, Mariano. We saw some real great fights tonight. What stood out to you the most here at Mill City Mayhem 2?
Well, look, we saw a little bit of everything. We saw Kevin Walsh blitz Angel Luna. That was a great performance. It was a statement that he wanted to make after his last fight against Tremaine Williams, who came into the ring and challenged him to a rematch. And then you had a main event, which we both thought was going to be a good fight. It turned out to be a really good fight. I don't think either fighter really lost it. It was a fair decision, I believe.
I agree with you on that. I think that fight turned out to be a lot better than I originally thought it might be. Both fighters did a great job. They hung in there through 8 rounds. Mike Fontanez had to battle the cut and the blood coming down the left side of his face. Gets out of there with the draw. Doesn't count as a loss, perhaps an opportunity for a rematch. And I also think Kevin Walsh, as you said, really made the statement of the night tonight here at Mill City Mayhem 2, just absolutely obliterating Angel Luna in 1 round. So a lot of great things to think about going forward here for CES Boxing. It was another great night of fights here in historic Lowell, Massachusetts at the Memorial Auditorium. I want to thank everybody for watching us tonight on Swerve Combat. Again, speedy recovery to Sucre Ray Oliveira. From Mariano Agami, I'm Mike Parenti. We will see you next time.
Thank you, everyone.